Hello everyone, and today we're back with another Loomian Legacy PvP video, and we're finally doing the Loomian Legacy PvP tier list of 2026. We have every single fully evolved Loomian in the game. The only Loomian we do not have on this list is Soulburst Cramboss, which I'll still be talking about in this video, don't worry. So, out of the way, get ready, it's going to be a very, very long video, and we're going to get started with Seer Knight. Fire metal type, really good melee defense, has the terrifying ability, has barbs and slapdown, very good moves. Biggest flaw, it doesn't really have any way to heal its own HP back, and its offensive sets get walled by Soulburst Crakalola, but not a very bad Loomian to have around. Never the star Loomian, but a very good 6th or 7th option on any team. Putting it in the good tier, really good defensive typing as well. It's so bulky with a terrifying ability, it actually lives quad effective hits on the melee side, which not many Loomians can really say that. And Seer Knight, really good, definitely deserves to be in the good tier. Next Loomian we'll be talking about is Luminami, and I don't think there's really much to say here. Luminami is going to be in the godly tier. Not really much to say here. It has one of the best bulk in the entire game, really good defensive typing, Power Napper, Flash and Flee, sponges pretty much any hit in the game, making it so your offensive Loomians can pretty much come in for free. Nothing else to say here, it's in the godly tier. The next Loomian we'll be talking about is Tatab. Tatab belongs in the great tier. It has Timber Thrash, it has Jungle Jutsu, and this is a Loomian that has 120 plus melee attack, 104 speed, and the Awakening ability, making it very strong. The reason why it's not in the amazing tier, it would usually be up higher, but it's actually not really good in a meta with Lashent and Soulburst Crakalola everywhere, but I feel like in the future it's actually going to rise up a lot more. So, great tier, very good Loomian, definitely deserves all the praise it gets. Valkyrie will also be in the great tier, has Magnify Light Speed Ray, 126 range attack, and has a lot of other moves like Gust to remove hazards, Rejuvenate to heal HP back, Radiant Forecast, which can be very dangerous, and it has Holy Slash to hit Lashent for super effective damage. Definitely belongs in the great tier, very good anti-meta threat right now. Vesperatu, very high melee attack, and it also has Slash to hit Eclipse, which is really nice. Has Revival and Gust as other moves as well. Only going to be in the good tier, though. Probably the worst starter in the game right now, and the reason why it is the worst starter is because all the other spirit types that it's trying to compete with have Fade Away, and Vesperatu doesn't have Fade Away, which, to be honest, Fade Away on Vesperatu would actually be very strong, but it's still a Loomian you gotta be careful for, especially its Gnarly Gashes and Harrows can actually deal a lot of damage when you're using the specialty gloves. So, Vesperatu, very threatening Loomian if you're not ready for it, but probably the worst starter in the game right now. And then we have Himber. Himber belongs in the good tier. Himber has really good bulk, can use a lot of different items, and it has a lot of different movesets it can run. Its biggest flaw, honestly, is its relatively low speed stat, and its defensive typing can be kind of iffy at times, but it's immune to Zip Zap, it has priority in Spike Rush, has Yeti's Wrath, which is a very powerful move, and one of the better Icicle Trap setters in the game, and it's also good at keeping hazards off as well with Mudslide. So, just a consistently bulky Loomian. Biggest problem is it can't heal its own HP back, but even then, its bulk is so good, it can pretty much live any hit in the game. So, definitely belongs to be on the good tier. And then we got Zulong. Zulong was nerfed, it did just lose Fire Breath, but it's still a great Loomian. And the reason why is because it's one of the fastest Loomians in the game with 119 speed, has Zip Zap and Ancient Ore Pivot, while also just having very strong moves altogether. One of the best hit and runners in all of Loomian Legacy. Despite losing Fire Breath, it still has other coverage moves in Blaze Chomp and Chili Chomp to hit certain threats if you need them. So Zulong, despite losing Fire Breath, is still a very good Loomian. It belongs in the low end of great. Those are all the starters. Let's now get to the rats. We're starting with Umbrat. Honestly, Umbrat is average. In the past, once upon a time, Umbrat was the only Loomian that had Dark-type Chase Down because of its Overshadow ability, but when it lost that ability to trap Loomians in with Chase Down, which it still works, you can still trap Loomians in with Chase Down, but it's heavily nerfed, and if you get the read wrong, it does nothing. But it does still have some good moves it can run. It has Drudge to set up, it has Brawn Boost, it still has Priority, and it has a lot of coverage moves in both Fade Away to pivot out of bad matchups, and Chili Chomp to hit bug types for super effective damage. So it still has a lot of different ways that it can be ran, but it's definitely not as good as it used to be when it had Dark-type Chase Down, which was just a really cheap strategy. The Zubrat core was just kind of cheap, so still a solid Loomian if you have to face it, but not as good as it used to be when it had Dark-type Chase Down at its peak form. We have Luxor, which is going to be in the mid tier. The reason why it isn't in the bad tier is because it does have Hasten, and it does have a very fast speed stat. And having Hasten, a fast speed stat, and Flash and Flake could actually make Luxor pretty dangerous against certain matchups. The problem is with Luxor is that Light Fire cannot hit 30% of the game. So, not to mention that one of those common Lumians in the game right now is Luminami, which walls both Light and Fire. The good thing that is good is that the plant types that can switch into light type attacks are weak to Fire Breath, so we can at least hit Lumians like Lashang, which is nice. And the Lumians that cannot go into Flash and Flay, you can just pivot off of them after a Hasten. And this also has the move Swiftn, which could also double your team's speed for 4 turns, which can be very critical in doubles. Not a bad Loomian. I feel like it is underrated. I feel like people do hate on Luxor a little too much. But it's definitely not the best Loomian on this list. It's Eclipse. I have to put it in the great tier. This might be way too high to put Eclipse, especially in a meta where Eclipse doesn't do so hot right now. But the Total Eclipse ability is one of the most busted abilities in the game. You could pretty much run Eclipse whatever you want. It could be melee, it could be range, it could be bulk up, it could be peace of mind, it could be drudge, it could be broad boost, it could be hasten, it could be magnify, it could be whatever the heck it wants to be. And that's the thing that makes Eclipse very scary. And light dark offense, not many Lumians can switch into light dark offense. The only Lumian that can switch into those 2 type of moves is Eclipse. There's also Marafe too, but that is a unicorn. Like Marafe is a unicorn in Loomian Legacy. No other Lumian could switch into light dark offense. So Eclipse will always be a very dangerous threat, especially against Lumians that are very passive, because it can set up a free scapegoat and win on the spot. So great tier, almost amazing tier because of its busted ability, but it's not that good in this meta. But I do feel like it is a Lumian that can be easily broken if not careful. Cinemoth, horrible tier. The problem with Cinemoth is its base stats. Its base stats are just kind of garbage. It doesn't have that much range attack and that much speed. If you run Hasten, Cinemoth doesn't hit hard enough, and if it runs Magnify, it's not fast enough. So it's kind of the worst of both worlds when it comes to Cinemoth. That doesn't even mention its coverage isn't that good. And while its abilities aren't bad, like Flutter being immune to Icicle Traps is nice, it's not good enough to save Cinemoth. So it belongs in the horrible tier. Its bulk isn't the worst, but its defensive typing isn't good. Unfortunately, it belongs in the horrible tier. Now we have the very powerful Sumo Beetle, which is a lot better than Cinemoth. I'm actually going to put it in the amazing tier. The reason why I'm putting Sumo Beetle in the amazing tier is because Sumo Beetle has a nice form of speed control. It has a lot of very powerful moves. Counterpoise, Counterstance, and Quick Punch are all priority moves that get boosted by Guru. And this is for a Loomian that already has a pretty high melee attack stat. There's a lot of different ways you can actually run Sumo Beetle, and it has a lot of different options you can run. Has Double Beat, which is, again, boosted by Guru. So Double Beat's actually your best move, and it's a move that can hit fire types and your snack for super effective damage. This also has Bulk Up. You can set up a Bulk Up Illuminami, and then you could just be very bulky. This thing with the Health Amulet is actually very strong, and you could even run this thing with, like, restrictive items, because Sumo Beetle, despite having a bad defensive typing, has really good bulk. Its bulk is so good, it can actually live quad effective hits, which is kind of insane. Sumo Beetle, very powerful, a lot of different ways you can run. One of the trickiest Lumians in the game to use, but I think it definitely belongs in the amazing tier. Very underrated, can use a lot of different sets, and its form of priority and speed control is really nice for it. And it also has the most powerful driving force in the game, which I know it's called Horndashi for Sumo Beetle and not driving force, but Horndashi is basically a stronger driving force. That's basically what it is. So, Sumo Beetle, amazing tier. A lot of people might be shocked that it's up there, but the thing is really strong. We have Avatross. Avatross is a great tier Lumian, has Rev Up, even though it is a pure air type, it has both electric and brawler coverage, which can pretty much hit anything in the game. Avatross doesn't really need much more, and then after a Rev Up boost, it can actually outspeed everything in the game after a Brawn boost. This thing also has the Madcap ability, so if you don't want to use Rev Up, your Rogue Assaults, Thunder Crashes, and Nosedives can actually deal a lot more damage as well. So there's kind of 2 different sets you can run with this. Rev Up is better, but if you want to use Madcap, you can use Madcap as well. Very powerful late game cleaner, not really much to say here. It definitely belongs in the great tier. If you're not ready for an Avatross, Avatross can come in and clean you up. Next Lumian we have is Solder. Swolder's the kind of Lumian that really struggles in this meta. I'm going to put it in average, but it could definitely be down here. But I can also see people put Swolder up here too. Its bulk is really good, has a really good ability that actually slows down melee attackers if they hit you with a contact move, and it has Poison, Rejuvenate, and Vital Jab, which Vital Jab is really good because it can actually hit Soulburst Stratosaur for neutral damage. It's super effective damage if you can catch Soulburst Stratosaur on a perch. Not to mention that it has Braum Boost and Counterpoise as well, but it's not as good with Counterpoise compared to Sumo Beetle. Swolder's solid, but it kind of struggles in this meta, so it's going to be in the average tier. I'm not sure if it'll ever get higher than average, but hey, underrated. It could do stuff if you're not ready for it. Regular Floren is bulky. There is Pestilence, Sap Plant, Stall Set. That thing can be very annoying. I'm going to put it in the average tier because the thing is, normal Floren is not what I'm trying to talk about here. Soulburst Floren, on the other hand, now that is a good tier Lumian. It is a very powerful Lumian. It has 120 melee attack with Power Jaw. It's the strongest Power Jaw Lumian in the entire game. Now, it is a little bit clickbait because Soulburst Floren is using its soul item when Lumians like Hunter and Tyrex can both use specialty gloves. But the thing that makes Floren really good is that it gains a lot of bulk, and it gains some very powerful attacks. Canaria Snap is a really good soul move, has Parasitize, Vice Jaws, Mega Chomp. You can pretty much use whatever you want on Soulburst Floren. You can make it offensive, you can make it defensive. It has a really good niche on stall teams because it's a stall Lumian that can actually deal a consistent amount of damage back to the opposing team. No other bulky Lumian that's this slow and that bulky has that niche, which makes Soulburst Floren really unique on certain teams. It's definitely not the best Soulburst. It might be one of the worst Soulbursts in the games, but that's because all the other Soulbursts are also really good. Good Lumian. I think Soulburst Floren is very underrated, and it can be very dangerous against certain matchups. Terafly is I'm gonna put it in the great tier, honestly. It's gonna have its ability Hotfoot changed to make it so its speed is double in Strong Gust, and oh my god, Strong Gust Terafly is gonna be very strong because its Baneful Bash is gonna be boosted. Not to mention, it can even set up a Drudge to be even faster. There's also the Ambush Terafly, and Ambush Terafly is one of the most dangerous Lumians in the game, has so much coverage, can pretty much hit anything in the game. Even Lumians like Yursnak and Soulburst Crakalola have to be careful because of the very powerful Wing Slap. Could actually do a lot of damage to those two Lumians because Ambush Boosted Gloves Terafly hits really hard. If you could put Terafly in the right position, it can pretty much put people in these really unpredictable pins that are really hard to get out of. Then there's also Bug Fever. You get a KO with a Bug-type attack. Its Bug-type attack is Parasitize, so it also not only is used as an attacking move, but it can also be used as Terafly to heal HP back. All three abilities are good on Terafly, and there's a lot of different sets you can run on it. Very dangerous Loomian, definitely belongs in the great tier, even though it isn't the best in this meta. Terraclaw, on the other hand, I think it's a good Loomian. A lot of people might be shocked that I'm ranking Terraclaw this high, but Terraclaw is one of the weird cases of a Loomian where its bulk on both sides are very dangerous, and it's one of those situations of a do-nothing Loomian that can be very dangerous. It's bulky on both sides, and after a bulk up, it can never die. It's one of those cases of a raid boss Loomian, and it has the move Parasitize in order to keep it healthy. It has Vital Jab to hit metal types, and it has Baneful Bash to hit Lumians like Luminami. Terraclaw is not the best Loomian, and it only fits on very specific teams, but it can be a very dangerous Loomian, and if you're not ready for Terraclaw, Terraclaw can just solo a game straight up, so I think it belongs in the good tier. Now, we got Ragoon. Oh, I'm so sorry. I gotta put Ragoon in bad. The thing is, Ragoon has to be bad because it has a tech. It has the ability Thief ability, which can actually be very annoying, but the thing is that Chase Down does not work with ability Thief. So you can't put other teams into pin. You can't steal a certain ability that you want. The ability Ragoon steals is always going to be in contention of the opposing player. Are they going to stay in on Ragoon, or are they going to switch out and let that other Lumian's ability be taken away? Ragoon does have some good tools. It can get rid of, it can set up barbs, it has Baffle, also has Rogue Assault to hit metal types, but it's really just used as a hazard lead, maybe steal another Lumian's ability, and that's kind of it. There are other Lumians that can do this job better, despite Ragoon having ability thief. Now, the next Lumian we're going to be talking about is Borak. Borak is a great Lumian. Boast Boost, one of the best Lumians in the game for a long time now. Very powerful, especially very brawny boosted specialty gloves boast boosted Borak. Can shred holes into pretty much any team. Despite being slow, if you put it in the right position, good luck. Not many Lumians could switch into a Borok, so I think it belongs in the Great Tier. The next Lumian we're going to be talking about is the only pre-evolved Lumian on the list. It is, of course, Geklo. And everyone knows where Geklo belongs on this list. Godly Tier. In fact, Geklo is the best Lumian in all of Loomian Legacy. I'm not coping. It's real. Geklo is the MVP. Now, let's go to its fully evolved form in Eliguana. Eliguana is a good Lumian as well, has Flash and Fleet and Zip Zap, has Mudslide to remove hazards, and it can also use other moves. Like, it has Landslide to do damage, it has Thunder Blast, which makes it very strong under Thunderstorms, has Jolt for priority, and it has two good abilities. It has Lightning Rod to be immune to electric-type attacks, and it has Prismatic to be immune to light-type attacks, which is really good when being immune to their pivot move. So, Eliguana, great Lumian. Not that good right now, but can be very good in the future. If there's a meta where Ikazune and Zulong is good, Eliguana will be used because it's really good at checking those Lumians. Next Lumian we'll be talking about is Gasstroke. Normal Gasstroke's average, Soulburst Gasstroke is good. Both of the Gasstrokes, very high range defense. Has Tamp after a Tamp. It's very hard to defeat these two Lumians. And there's a lot of different moves that Gasstroke can run. It can run Stat Plant, it can run Dodge, it can run Poison, it can run Stratagem, it can run Muck Blast, it can even run like Landslide, so you can actually run like offensive Soulburst Gasstroke if you want. It's not that good, but you can run it. And its overall range bulk is very strong. Like, you can't really break it on the range side. And its Soulburst form has the Insulated ability, which makes it so it's a plant type that's neutral to fire and only normally weak to ice instead of being quad weak to it, which is actually really nice for Soulburst Gasstroke. And it also makes it immune to Zip Zap, which is really nice for it as well. So, Soulburst Gasstroke is actually pretty good. Normal Gasstroke's just average, but it's just kind of how it is. Wiki, great. Wiki's a great tier Lumian. It doesn't do any damage, but just because it can't do any damage, it doesn't mean it can't do anything for a team. It has the only Lumian in the game that has Herbal Remedy. It can send in these Herbal Remedy chains to its teammates to heal their own HP back. Really good for Lumians that are bulky, but don't have healing moves. Also has some other stuff it can do. It has Mudslide to remove hazards, Wonder Herb to heal its teammates from status conditions, and it can even do a little bit of damage itself with Mudslide and Muck Blast if you need it. It also has the Noxious Weeds abilities, which makes it so it's immune to plant-type attacks. Really good when there's Lumians like Tatub running all over the place. So yeah, Wiki, despite not being a heavy damage dealer, one of the best support Lumians in the game, definitely belongs in the Great Tier. Chartiki is just, good or average? I'm gonna put it in average. It did get buffed recently with the Combustible ability, and I feel like Combustible could make it good tier. Problem is that it's the worst Heatwave Sweeper in the game because it's too slow, and it also takes damage from its Inferno ability every turn. Its offensive coverage isn't bad, and Plant Fire actually isn't a bad defensive typing. They synergize together very well, but it's not the best Lumian right now. I do feel like it's a Lumian that can get better in future metas, but as it is right now, you could use Lumians like Wiki, Lashent, or Tatub if you want an offensive plant type. Even Lumians like Floren and Soulburst Gasstroke I feel like could be better. But hey, if you want a fire plant type, Chartiki is right there. Waka Waka's average. Waka Waka has a very bad defensive typing, one of the worst defensive typings in the game. But it is unique because it does have the Mycotic ability, which makes it so its light-type moves can actually hit plant types for super effective damage, which is really nice. Really good if you're combining this with Lumians like Valkyrie, Eclipse, or Celestine. So, Waka Waka has a very important niche, but other than that niche, it doesn't really do anything else, so that's why it's in the average tier. Sachi's a good Lumian. It has the Mystic Wand item. It recently got buffed. It's actually relatively bulky on the range side, and if you could set up a Peace of Mind, there's not really anything in the game that can switch into its moves. Very powerful Foul Chance, and it has good coverage moves and Pyrokinesis, Frost Beam, Elemental Burst, and Thunder Strike. You can pretty much use whatever you want on Sachi, and it will do good. It's a little bit slow, and it is weak on the melee side, but if you play around that, Sachi can definitely shred holes through teams. And the thing that's good is that it doesn't have to be locked into a specialty item, unlike some of the other Lumians in the game, because the wand item is exclusive to Sachi, and Sachi gets a 50% damage increase to all of its moves. But it doesn't make Sachi stock into a move, unlike the specialty items are for other Lumians. So that's why Sachi is in the good tier. We have Senimars. Senimars is average. Very good range bulk. Was actually very good. One of the best Lumians in Ranked Season 3. Not that good in Ranked Season 4, but it is very good on specific stall teams. Actually very good with Wiki, actually. The Insulated ability is actually really good for Sunny Mars, as it's actually no longer weak to ice. And it has the Hasty ability, which actually can make it hit really hard, as it actually has good coverage moves. So, it's an average Lumian, but I could definitely see Sunny Mars rise up later. Ventation, I'm sorry, Ventation. You're in the bad tier. The problem with Ventation is, despite having one of the highest melee defense stats in the game, it's a Lumian that just gets outclassed by every single other bulky water in the game. Every other bulky water type is better than Ventation. And while it's not horrible to use Ventation, unlike some of the other Lumians down here, which are just horrible to use in any situation, Ventation, if you are forced to use it, is actually solid at what it does. It's a melee tank that can hit decently hard with battering ram. It has it. I do hope it gets a Soulburst later, and I hope its Soulburst becomes a fire-water type. That would actually be a cool way to buff Ventation. But as it is right now, it's unfortunately in the bad tier. Got your soul. This is tough. Because in the past, your soul would be up here. But it got nerfed a lot. It's either in the great or amazing tier. I think I'm just going to put it in the great tier for now. But it's going to be... You know what? I'm going to put it in the amazing tier. The reason why I'm putting your soul higher up, because it's actually going to get the very... No, but it is... No, I'm going to put it in the great tier. I'm going to put it in the great tier because it is losing Steel Trap. Right now, it still has it, but it's going to lose it in the next season. So... Steel Trap is going to go back to its original form, so it will no longer have a metal-type move to hit Pteronics for super effective damage. It also will not trap other Lumians in. So you're pretty much forced to use Rogue Assault, Harrow, and Slap Down as your attacking moves of choice, which on a Gloves Fog Boost at Your Soul is still going to be very powerful. Now I got Your Snack. Your Snack is going to be in the amazing tier, one of the bulkiest Lumians in the entire game, really good ability in tank, one of the best pivoters in the game, and unlike Luminami, it's actually a different kind of bulky pivot. So if you're using Luminami, you can actually synergize that with Your Snack. You can have both Luminami and Your Snack as your pivoters, and then just have 5 offensive things. And then you could use these 2 as a defensive backbone to get your offensive Lumians in the game. Your Snack has fallen off a little bit recently, but it's still a Lumian that is one of the bulkiest in the game. And if you get Barbs up, it is heavily weak to Barbs as well. But if you can keep those Barbs up, Your Snack could pretty much live any hit in the game, so I'm going to keep it in the amazing tier. Might be a little controversial, but I think it's that good. I think it belongs up there. Revenine will actually be in the great tier. It has Fade Away, one of the best Prowler Lumians in the game, actually. Its speed is double while under fog, and it will actually get Magnify going into Year 2 Season 1, so it's even going to be even stronger. Has priority in Shadow Sprint, has very powerful moves in Fire Breath, Phantom Blast, and Dark Surge. With all those moves, you can pretty much hit any Lumian you want. Dark Surge to hit Luminami, you have Phantom Blast to hit other Lumians really hard, and Fire Breath to hit those pesky metal types for super effective damage. So yeah, Revenine, very powerful, very frail, but very fast when under the fog. Then we got Normal Eruptodon. Normal Eruptodon and Soulburst Eruptodon, I hate to say this, is average. This is kind of painful. The problem with Soulburst Eruptodon right now is that it's really bad in this meta. It's an fire-type wall breaker that is way too slow. 80 speed in its Soulburst form is just way too slow. And while you do have Blaze Rush to increase its speed, if you run a move like Blaze Rush, you're losing a critical coverage or setup move. What it wants to use is Fire Breath, Dark Surge, Landslide or Mudslide, or Magnify. Those are the 4 moves that Eruptodon wants to use. And if you use a move like Blaze Rush to increase its speed, you're dropping one of those critical moves, meaning that Soulburst Eruptodon can get walled by a lot of different Lumians. Despite having a great offensive type, it gets outsped a lot in this meta, and it's very hard to use as well because it lost a lot of its damage recently as well. So it's not even picking up Okos anymore. Still has one of the most powerful soul moves in the game though. It could be very dangerous against certain slow teams, but it gets completely destroyed by offense or even balance of bulky teams. So Eruptodon, not that good right now, but I do feel like Soulburst Eruptodon can easily go up here or even up here in the future. So don't be surprised that Soulburst Eruptodon does become meta in 2026. Now we got the Crakalola forms. Both of these belong in the amazing tier. I was thinking about putting it in the godly tier, honestly, which honestly, Crakalola could definitely have a situation to be up there in the godly tier. You could easily put both of them up there. But yeah, both Crakalolas are good. Crakalola has Scorching Skin, which can trap melee attackers, but even with it losing Scorching Skin, we'll get the Frosty ability, which makes it immune to Frostbite, which is really nice because Crakalola is a ranged attacker, especially in its Soulburst form. Its Soulburst form not only gives it a defensive typing that's better than Pure Fire, but it also gives it the Heat Summon ability, which makes it so it can actually deal really good damage as well. Normal Crakalola is just a bulky tank that removes hazards, while Soulburst Crakalola is a bulky offensive Lumian that can deal consistent damage over time. Both of these Lumians are awesome, and its normal and Soulburst forms really help each other out as well. That's why both Lumians are good. Normal Crakalola is better because of Soulburst Crakalola, and Soulburst Crakalola is better because of normal Crakalola. They both support each other well, and you can choose when to Soulburst with Crakalola, which is really unique. There's not really any other Soulburst in the game where you could choose when to Soulburst or not, because both Crakalolas perform different roles, but still does really good at pretty much anything it does. So it belongs in the amazing tier. Vocalola is average. Vocalola is good. It's fast, has Brawn boost. It also has the powerful Berserk ability, which can be strong against certain matchups, but it is outclassed by other offensive fire types right now, and just other offensive Lumians as well. It's also just kind of too frail. It's very hard to get into the game, at least compared to other offensive threats. And the worth of getting it into the game isn't as high, unlike Gargolem Attack or Imperior or other Lumians that are just very, very, that hit very hard, have a lot higher reward compared to Vocalola. But Volcanic boosted Blaze of Glory boosted Vocalolas can pretty much OHKO anything that isn't a Luminami. So there's that. That's why it's in the average tier. Festifer is not in the med tier. I'm actually going to put it in the average tier. Its defensive typing is not great, but has very good bulk, has Regift as its ability. Also has Ice Herb coverage, which is nice, and Timber Thrash to hit Luminami. Not great. Gets outclassed by Lashant and some other Lumians as well, but there's some other cool sets that it can run. It has the Ill Will Chill set, which is very good under Bane of Haste, and the Regift ability is just a really strong ability at preventing hazards from going up, so I think it definitely belongs in the average tier. Obsidian, I'm going to put it also in the average tier. Obsidian is an average Lumian, has barbs, really good melee defense. Sharp Edges is good, but if you want a Sharp Edges Lumian, you have Gremlin. And it does have barbs, but there are just other more consistent barb Lumians. Like, if you want to use barbs in a Lumian, you have Lumians like Serenite and even Suicide Leads that can do it better as well. So, Obsidian ain't bad, but it's just outclassed right now. Nothing else to really say there. Trumbull and Mewtwo are both average as well. They're both very good. Trumbull can be very dangerous after a Battle Chime and can pretty much destroy anything after a Battle Chime. And Mewtwo, despite being slow, has Hullabaloo and Raging Howl. After a Magnify, there's nothing that can really switch into a Mewtwo hit, but, you know, they're not the best. They're fine. They could do their job well, but it's very hard to get them into the game, and it's very hard to make them consistently do their job. They're a matchup fish. If you have a good matchup with Trumbull and Mewtwo, you'll have a very good time. If not, you're probably just not going to breed them because they're pure simple types. Gobademic, meh. Problem with Gobademic, it's a Suicide Lead that gets outclassed by both Gandervale and Gargolem Speed. Gargolem Speed is faster, and also wins the 1v1 versus Gobademic as well. While Gobademic does have moves like Health Gift, Gargolem Speed has moves like Return Descender, which can be very threatening. And not only just barbs, but it also has Icicle Traps as well. Also, Gargolem Speed has a little bit more offense to Gobademic as well, so yeah, Gobademic's just outclassed right now, but if there was like a UU tier, or if Loomian Legacy had different tiers in the future, I feel like Gobademic could see some usage. Alright, I actually forgot to add a tier. Let me just add a tier real quick. Add a row above. We're going to make this, not that one, no. We're going to make this, I forgot to add a tier. I forgot to add the banned tier. And these are the Lumians that are, you know, banned. These are the banned Lumians, so we'll put that in black. Oh wow, I can't see that. I can't see that at all. We'll make it purple. We'll make it dark purple. So yeah, banned, the banned tier. Normal Icicle is average. It finally has totemizable stats, and it's actually very powerful with totemizable stats. Has 2 pivot moves, has the power draw ability, which is strong, and can be very good under Bane of Haste. And it's a very solid Bane of Haste setter as well. So average Lumian. Soulburst Icicle's man. If I were to rank Soulburst Icicle, it would just be in the good tier. I don't think it deserves to be banned. That's just my opinion. The problem with Soulburst Icicle is that it loses a turn of Bane of Haste when it sets it up automatically. And while you can easily get it up by using the move Dodge, it also doesn't have the best defensive typing. So I feel like Lumians like Infernix are better at actually setting up Bane of Haste, because the problem with Icicle is that it has a very slow speed stat. So what happens with Soulburst Icicle is that you get Bane of Haste up turn 1, and then you click Fade Away. Your Fade Away or Baffle goes first. It's meaning your Bane of Haste Sweeper has to take a hit coming in. And it only has 3 turns of Bane of Haste to use. So it's very hard to use Icicle unless you Baffle or Fade Away on a slower Loomian. Which, honestly, I think it's better to run faster Icicles just for that reason. But it is banned by Jamie, so I am going to put it in the banned tier, even though I don't think it should be. But that's besides the point. Ferroglyph, I hate this Loomian. I gotta put it in the great tier at least, though, because after a Hasten, it can be very dangerous. But this Loomian loses to Stratosaur and Lachette very easily. But if teams don't have those 2 Loomians, 1 Hasten and the Ferroglyph just immediately wins. So, yeah, there's that. That's why Ferroglyph is in the great tier. Garbantis is also another great tier Loomian. It's a Loomian that is not only very bulky, but it can also use its bulk for its offense as well. Has the Trash Armor ability, very high melee defense, and both Battering Ram and Body Crash to destroy teams. It also has moves to hit like Earthquake to hit Soulburst, Crakalola, and Billiforge, and Poison to hit Lumians like Your Snack. Really good Loomian, very consistent Loomian, has really only 1 or 2 sets to use, but very solid Loomian at what it does. The next Loomian we're going to be talking about is Stratosaur and Soulburst Stratosaur, and both of these Loomians are going to be ranked in the same spot. They're both going to be in the amazing tier. Normal Stratosaur has the Toxic Filter ability, making it one of the best Ferenosaur counters in the game. There's not really any Loomian in the game that can consistently switch into Ferenosaur, and Stratosaur is one of them. And then even after that, it has its Soulburst form, which is very strong, it's fast, and after a Magnify, can pretty much OHKO anything that isn't an electric type. Both Stratosaur forms benefit off of each other, just like with Crakalola. And honestly, just like with Crakalola, both of these can actually be considered to be even in the godly tier. But for what they are, normal Stratosaur and Soulburst Stratosaur are both amazing tier Lumians. The next Loomian is Diborg. Diborg is average. It has a very good niche. It has Hasty Screens, which is very nice. And it has a lot of different moves as well. It has Hasty Barter, meaning you can barter Heavy Shackles away. I think it even has the move Barbs, which is actually really good. No, I think it's Poison Barbs. It doesn't have Barbs yet, but I think it will get Barbs in the future. It also has other abilities like Tank to lift hits, and it's also one of the more premier weather setters as well. It's one of the few Lumians that isn't a main weather setting Loomian that can actually set up weather consistently because it has Hasty, and it has both Downpour and Strong Gusts, meaning it can actually set up weather for the rest of the team as a secondary weather setter, while still having a bunch of moves to hit offensively as well. Very solid Loomian for what it has in that role, but not the best at it, and that's why it's going in the average tier. Tyrex. Tyrex is a amazing Loomian. Not quite in the godly tier like Luminami. Like, I'm saving the godly tier for just the best of the best Loomians. Like, the Loomians that you see on pretty much every single team belong up there, which is weird because Loomians like Ear Snack and Stratosaur and Crakalola are not in the godly tier. Tyrex could even be considered up there too, but it does have a lot of weaknesses, and it does have some critical weaknesses that do keep it back from godly, but very consistent Loomian. Has a lot of different moves it can use. Very powerful, nothing else to say here. It even has 3 good abilities as well, so Tyrex definitely belongs in the amazing tier. In the past, Munchwheel would be right here, but I found a set that saved Munchwheel. Support Wheel Munchwheel single-handedly saved Munchwheel from being in the horrible tier. If it wasn't for Farrell showcasing Support Wheel, it would be down here, easily. But Support Wheel is actually very good. Cleanup is a very good move. If hazards go up, you not only heal HP back, but you also get rid of hazards. It also has Barbs itself, meaning you can place hazards up. Has Poison to poison opposing threats. And it has the Forge ability, meaning it's a metal type that isn't completely weak to fire. Also has powerful coverage moves in both Thunder Chomp and Aqua Jaws to hit certain threats. So, Support Wheel by itself puts it in the average tier. The reason why it isn't higher, though, is all of its other sets suck. All of its other sets are down here, and Support Wheel is like good or great. So, it evens out to be an average Loomian. But really, I'm serious. This is a huge stretch. Support Wheel is the only good Munch Wheel. Don't use any other Munch Wheel. Trust me, y'all will be heavily disappointed. Now we got all the guard drones. All the guard drones I think are going to be pretty interesting. Normal guard drones average. It can pretty much run any item, and it can be very powerful depending on the item it runs. But I think it does get outclassed by one of the other guard drones. We'll get to that in a little bit. I think fire guard drone is around the same as normal guard drone. It's an earth type. It has a quad weakness to earth, but it has hover, meaning that it's actually not weak to earth, meaning it actually has a better defensive typing than Seer Knight, and it has more offenses than it too. But there is really no reason to use this because this thing doesn't have any supporting moves like barbs. It has Raging Flame, which is nice, but that's kind of it. And it can't hit opposing fire types, meaning it's actually very tricky to use Raging Flame on this guy. So this thing only belongs in average. Ice type guard drone, trash. Trash. What are the trashiest Lumians in the game? Nothing else will say. There's no reason to use Ice-type Guard Drone. The only reason in the past to use Ice-type Guard Drone is because it was the only Lumian that could live Wise Wintrix hits consistently. But even that is now dethroned by Soulburst Cramboss. So why wouldn't you just use Soulburst Cramboss if you want to consistently deal with Wintrix now? So now it doesn't even have that niche anymore. So the worst Lumian I've talked about so far is Ice-type Guard Drone. And then we have the electric-type guard drone, which, honestly, the electric-type guard drone is actually really good. Under thunderstorms, it's actually very good under thunderstorms because its hover ability makes it so it's actually immune to earth-type attacks while under thunderstorms, which makes guard drone really unique. Not to mention it has jumpstart, so it doesn't take that much damage. It can set up itself. It has very powerful electric and metal-type moves, which... And it has Frostbeam to actually hit plant types that not many other Lumians on thunderstorm teams can do. So... the electric guard drone, right now, is the best guard drone. It belongs in the good tier. Next Lumian we're talking about is Hunter. Hunter's a good tier Lumian. Very fast, hits very hard. Right now it runs specialty gloves, though, so it's very easy to trap into a move. And there are Lumians that wall it, like Crakalola, but if you get rid of Lumians like your snack and Crakalola, you're going to have a pretty good time with Hunter, because it has really good coverage and can pretty much hit anything in the game. So, definitely belongs in the good tier. Arpaigo. Arpaigo is surprisingly a great tier Lumian. It is one of the best rain abusers in the game, has Magnify, and it has a lot of different coverage options. It's a water type with dark, ice, and electric coverage. You can pretty much use it whatever you want. You can even run specialty goggles and run the move Zip Zap to pivot out of bad matchups. So, one of the best rain abusers in the game. If you're using rain, you've got to be using Arpaigo. Skellic is normal Skellic. Oh, I accidentally moved Luxor. Oops, my bad. Skellic is fine. I'm going to put Skellic in average. It has some very good utility moves, and it has the combative ability in its normal form, which is really good in a meta with Tyrex and Lashent. But this thing will get Brawn Boost in the future, but I feel like it's going to buff Soulburst Skellic more, which Soulburst Skellic is a little bit higher. Hits decently hard, and after a Drudge can pretty much outspeed anything in the game, especially in the rain. So, Soulburst Skellic is good, but not as good as Arpaigo, and that's why it's only in the good tier. But you could use it over Arpaigo if you want a melee attacker. Joltooth. Joltooth is... normal Joltooth, honestly, is average. Normal Joltooth just isn't the best right now. It does have Ambush, but it's probably the worst out of all the Ambush users because it doesn't have totemizable stats. Decent coverage and Brawn Boost, but it's just kind of too slow to really use anything. Thunder King, on the other hand, is a different story. I was thinking about putting this in the Great tier, and honestly, I think I will. 109 speed, has Vulgar Fangs, and its Royal Decree ability makes it so it can actually hit Earth types with its Electric type moves. That's a huge deal because it also has the move Zip Zap, meaning it has unblockable Zip Zaps. It also has one of the best soul moves in the game in Vulgar Fangs, which makes it so you can prevent support moves from being used. It's basically Provoke as an attacking move, which is really good. And it can hit a lot of the Lumians in the meta. It can hit Soulburst Crakalola with Primal Slash. It can hit Luminami with Thunder Crash or Thunder Clap. And you can even hit Lashent for decent damage after a Brawn Boost. So, Thunder King might be on the low tier of great, but definitely belongs in a higher tier than Soulburst Skellic. Just because of the faster speed stat alone. Infernix. Infernix is also going to be going into great tier. A lot of different sets it can run. Really good defensively, really good offensively. One of the only good Heatwave Sweeper in the game. The only good Heatwave Sweeper. All the other Heatwave Sweepers just kind of suck right now. And it also has Power Napper and Dissipate, which can combine with Luminami. It's also one of the best hazard removals in the game with Burn Up as well, which not only is good at removing hazards, but it's also good at just boosting Infernix's ranged attack as well. It is walled by Luminami, but it does have some tools that it can use to beat it. Like, it does have Jetstream and Magnify. So after a Magnify, you can 2-hit KO most Luminamis, and it does have Return to Sender. So if Luminami uses a Flash and Fleet on Infernix, you can actually deal damage to the opposing Lumian coming in. So there are tools you can use with Infernix to punish Luminami, but it does get walled by both Luminami and Eliguana, so that's why it's only in the Great Tier. But still, very flexible Lumian. You can use it whatever you want to use it in. Very solid what it is, and very good in a Powered Up or Duo Core. Definitely belongs in the Great Tier. Dorgo will also be in the Great Tier. We all know how powerful Dorgo is. Draco Beam, Draco Beam, Draco Beam, Draco Beam, Draco Beam. Draco Beam Anomaly, nothing else to say. Fast speed stat, destroys every team, nothing else. Nothing can really counter every Dorgo set. Belongs in the Great Tier. Now, Mulmurk used to be right here in the Meta Tier. It used to be down here, but it actually has risen up recently. It's a Loomian with Barbs, it's a Loomian with Driving Force, and it's a Barbs Driving Force Loomian that has a healing move, which is really good. It also has a very good defensive typing in both plant and water, as it's only quad weak to Toxic, and it only has 2 other weaknesses, both to Dark and to Bug. If you don't want to use Lashent for some reason, you could use Mulmurk and spam Barbs and Driving Force on every team. You could use this thing offensively, you could use it defensively. It definitely belongs in the Great Tier. It's actually one of the huge risers in Ranked Season 4, and I definitely think it's a Lumian that will rise even more in the future. So yep, belongs in the Great Tier. Metatoad is good. It has one role. It has the Sly ability, which makes it so it ignores other Lumians' items, and it has Specialization Zip Zap, which can be extremely strong. Not many Lumians could switch into a Specialization Metatoad, but Specialization Metatoad does lose critical coverage. So, it does have some flaws to its game, but it can be very threatening, so that's why it's in the good tier. Blowtox, also a good tier Lumian. It has water toxic coverage, which not really anything to switch into water toxic offensively, and defensively water toxic is even better. Has icicle traps and chili chomp to hit air types, and it has Braum boost and rejuvenate. Really good move pool, really good move set that it can run. The biggest problem is mainly its slower speed stat, but even then, it's still very good at what it is. It's fast enough to outspeed the slower Lumians, which is really good for Blowtox. Then we got Barblast. Barblast is around the same tier. A lot more bulky, a lot more defensive, and it never dies. Nothing else to say. Blowtox never dies, or Barblast never dies, and it can just rejuvenate and poison spam. Reason why it's not higher is because ever since Dokomori was added in the game, Barblast fell off the face of the earth. But it's still a good Lumian if you are forced to use Barblast. Garlash is also a good tier Lumian. Power Jaw, Specialty Boots boosted Garlash, hits very hard. Very good coverage moves, has Vice Jaws to hit Tyranics, has Venom Chomp to hit other water types, and it just has very powerful moves regardless. Actually hits Lumishent for super effective damage if you call the right move right. So, yeah, Garlash very strong. Not as strong as some of the other Lumians. I think it's because Vicious Snap is just kind of a weak move. If it had a more powerful water chumping move, it would definitely be higher on this list. But as it is, it definitely belongs in the good tier. Deludrix will also be in the good tier. The main range setter has Gust to get rid of hazards, and it has a lot of good 4-move options. It has Counterpoise, Hydroblast, Ferroblast, Jetstream, and it can even run moves like Baneful Bash and Thunder Chomp to hit certain threats. Very good Lumian. Very frail, so it's very hard to use as a main weather Lumian, but if you're able to keep Deludrix alive, you have a Lumian that can be good very offensively, which is really nice for it. You don't even have to run a dedicated rain team to use Deludrix. You could just use Deludrix to set up the rain, and then just use Deludrix as an offensive Lumian, and then just build another team of 6 around that. That's what makes Deludrix really good. You don't have to build a dedicated rain team with it. It's a Lumian you could just use by itself, and it can be very effective, even with it by itself. Colossotrops, meh. I don't know if I should put it in meh. The thing is with Colossotrops, it struggles so much. Actually, okay, you know what? No. That's too harsh. I'm at least going to put it in the average tier. I think it's better than some of these Lumians here. I can't put it in meh. Problem with Colossotrops is that on paper, it seems like a very powerful Lumian, but the biggest problem is that Lashent just beats it. Every single Lashent set can beat Colossotrops. For Alarma loses to Lashent. Bane of Haste Vigorous loses to Lashent. And Vigorous, after a Brawn boost, is very hard to set up because you need to be under Bane and Haste to use that set effectively, and Bane and Haste just isn't that good right now. So, yeah, Colossal Traps really struggles right now. So, it's going to be in the average tier. Hoganosh and Soulburst Hoganosh are in the same tier because I don't see anyone ever use normal Hoganosh. But Soulburst Hoganosh is actually very solid. Soulburst Hoganosh is one of the few raid boss lumians in the game. You get into the game, has the Gorge ability, which prevents hazards from going up, and it can also has some very good coverage moves. It has Muck Muck to hit opposing fire types, and it has Baneful Bash to hit lumians like Luminami and Lashent for super effective damage. Also has Meltdown, which is a ranged fire type move, which can actually knock down items. Really good soul move for Hoganosh. Only reason why it's not higher on the list is because if you're using Soulburst Hoganosh, it's the opportunity cost of not using Soulburst Crakalola or Soulburst Stratosaur as your main Soulburst. Or even Lumians like Soulburst Joltooth or Soulburst Skellic or Soulburst Dragodai. So that's the reason why it isn't higher on the list, is because Soulburst Hoganosh is good, but not that good. And there's other Soulbursts that could definitely use better than it. But if you are forced to use Soulburst Hoganosh, you're going to have a good time with it. Mocho, meh. I'm sorry. This thing did just get Energy Break, and it does have good coverage. The problem is that it only has one effective set, and that one effective set is a one-time thing. If you fail at your one chance at getting a sweep with Mocho, it's useless the rest of the game. It's too slow without Sugar Rush, and it doesn't even do that much damage unless you get a Peace of Mind up. Very good if you can get it up, but any good player isn't going to allow a Mocho to set up, so I'm putting it in the med tier just for that reason. Spreezy, it'll be average. It has very good defenses, has the hard candy ability, but it gets outclassed by Garbantis. Garbantis is faster, is stronger, and can even have other utility stuff like Slapdown and Barbs, just like Spreezy. Spreezy, though, at least Spreezy has, what does Spreezy have over Garbantis? It has Gus. So it can remove hazards. So there is at least that. And it is only normally weak to Icicle Traps, not quad weak like Garbantis. But Garbantis also is immune to Zip Zap, which is also nice. But Spreezy isn't. Also, Spreezy gets an additional weakness to water, which is really bad. Yeah, it's average. It's pretty much just weaker Garbantis. Whippledrift, on the other hand, is not just a good Lumian, it's a great Lumian. Whippledrift is actually one of those rare cases of a weather setter which can actually sweep the game itself. If you're using Strong Gus, Whippledrift is pretty bulky on the melee side. And Whippledrift is one of those cases of a Lumian that if your other air-type Lumians can't get the sweep, Whippledrift can pretty much sweep the game itself. After a Hasten or Magnify, it can do a lot of damage with Tempest. It also has powerful Typhoons, has Luster Loop to heal, and Nature's Force. Honestly, Plant Air is actually very good offensively, especially when you combine that after a Hasten or a Magnify. There's also the Glide set, where after every time you click an Air-type move, it gets a speed boost, which is just one of the most powerful abilities in the game. And Whippledrift's actually going to get buffed as well. It's going to get Poison Barbs, it's going to get Rock Slide, and Landslide. So it's even going to be able to hit those Electric-type Lumians, which is insane. The Electric-type Lumians are pretty much the Lumians it couldn't hit before. Now, it's going to be able to hit them for super effective damage. So yeah, Whippledrift definitely belongs in the great tier. Very good weather setter, and it sets up the best weather in the game as well in Strong Gus. Alright, now we're into the Varies. We're into the Varies, baby! So, we got Servalin. Servalin is just meh right now. It does have one thing. It does have one thing that does it well. It has Adaptive Assault, which is priority. And it's a 75 base power priority move. If you are able to get a couple bulk ups off, that priority boosted Adaptive Assault can actually clean up certain teams. Other than that, though, it really doesn't have anything. It doesn't have the best coverage, and pretty much any Spirit type walls it. So that's why it's in the med tier. Wendelin's very good. I'm going to put that in the great tier. It barely belongs in the great. I think it's at the low end of great, but it has Fast Fade Away, has priority, Dazzling Barrage. Range Wendelin with Gloomy is actually very strong. It actually one-shots a lot of Lumians. Phantom Blast Range Wendelin can actually OHKO Lumians, which is kind of funny. But its main set is its melee fadeaway version, which makes it one of the best hit and runners in the game. Also has priority moves, which is also really nice for it because it's one of the faster spirit types, so meaning it's actually going to get a priority move off before other spirit types. So that's really good for Wendelin. Definitely belongs in the great tier. Carolyn, I'm going to put Carolyn in the average tier. Carolyn is tricky because if it hits its attacks, it's up here. If it doesn't hit its attacks, it's down here. So we're going to put it in the average tier. One of the hardest hitting melee attackers in the game, if it can hit its attacks. It even has Blaze Rush and Mega Kick. Mega Kick, you can actually, after a Sharpen, 2 Mega Kicks actually can deal with Luminami. And if you can get a Blaze Rush up as well, this thing can actually become an impressive sweeper as well. So we're going to put it in the average tier. Cephalin is a good Lumian. It's an air type, has Gust, has Peace of Mind, has Perch. Not great bulk, but its bulk is good enough. It also has Landslide to hit electric types for super effective damage. And it has Spite as well, which is really good at shredding through tanks. Has Provoke, and it is one of the better stall breakers in the game. Definitely belongs in the good tier. Vendelin is a good tier Lumian. It's a ranged tank, has Mudslide to remove hazards, Rock Slide to hit air types. And it also even has a decent ranged attack stat as well for a tank. Toxic type means it only has 2 weaknesses, and it has the powerful Rejuvenate. Pretty good Lumian, but not as good as it used to be. It used to be a lot better in 2022, actually. But as it is now, it gets countered by a lot of the game right now. But I do see future metas where Vendelin can be pretty good. Wrestlin is a good tier Lumian. The reason why Wrestlin is a good tier Lumian because it's one of the hardest hitting Lumians in the game. If you don't have a spirit type, Wrestling can actually wreck a lot of teams. Problem is, it's pretty hard to get Wrestling set up because every team is well built nowadays to have a spirit type. But if you have a good matchup for Wrestling, it can absolutely shine and destroy teams, especially if it's gloves, boots, or a setup variant. So it definitely belongs in the good tier. Buzzlin is an average Lumian, but Buzzlin is actually one of the better vigorous Lumians in the game. Has counterpoise, which is really good for it, and decent coverage. Problem is that it gets outclassed by other bug types. Like, even bug types are even on this tier, like Floren and Swolder, I would rather use over Buzzlin. The problem with Buzzlin is opportunity cost. Buzzlin by itself is good. It's a good Lumian. But if you're using Buzzlin, it's the opportunity cost of not being Terraclaw, or Sumo Beetle, or Florence. Like, it's the opportunity cost of not being a better Lumian. Because Buzzlin is good, but its role is not necessarily that valuable. And that's why it's only in the average tier. Tundrelin? I'm actually going to put that in the good tier. People might be shocked I'm putting Tundrelin up here. Tundrelin is a very flexible melee tank. 3 good abilities. It has Insulated, which makes it so it can actually soak fire type hits. It has the Mysterious Cloak ability, which makes it so it takes no damage from hazards. And it has Resilience, meaning it can actually get a melee defense increase anytime it's hit by a melee attack, which synergizes really well with its move Body Crash, boosting its damage. And when you combine that with Ice Hammer or Adaptive Assault, Slap Down to get rid of items and Blind Spot Batters to deal with spirit types, Tundrelin can pretty much do anything. Has other moves like Mudslide to remove hazards, has Icicle Traps to get hazards up, and Rejuvenate to heal its HP back. There's a lot of different ways you can use Tundrelin. I feel like there's a lot of unique ways you can use this Lumian in the future, and I feel like the reason why you never see it is because it's a Lumian that has fallen off recently, but I feel like it's a Lumian that's in the shadows, and I feel like once someone finds the right set to use with Tundrelin, I feel like it's a Lumian that will rise a lot. So, very underrated. I'm actually going to put it in the good tier because of its flexibility. Pyrolin, it's a great tier Lumian. It's probably the best Vari in the game. Very good range bulk, has the Fanning Flame ability, which makes it a fire type that isn't weak to air types, and just one of the most annoying range tanks in the game. One of the better hazard removals as well, and it also has the very funny Volcanic set, which is insanely strong, unless you're facing this guy. So yeah, Pyrolin's really good. Hydro Fraud. Do we have to talk about this guy? It's going in the trash tier. I think that's funny. It might be better than Ice Guard Drone. It's probably better than Ice Guard Drone. So despite being one of the worst Lumians in the game, it's better than Ice type Guard Drone, because at least Hydrolin at least has the Luck of the Sea ability, which can boost its damage, when Ice type Guard Drone is just completely useless. So there's at least that. Like, it's better than Ice type Guard Drone. That's a win for Hydrolin, not being the worst Lumian in the game. But just because it's not the worst Lumian in the game, it doesn't mean that it isn't trash. Oxydrake, good Lumian. Very good on the Rain and Strong Gust. One of the bulkiest Lumians in the game. Has Barbs and Driving Force, and it has Primal Slash to deal with Spirit types, and it has Rejuvenate. This is basically what Obsidian wishes it was. So yeah, Oxydrake very good. Not super powerful. That's why it's only in the good tier. But it's a Lumian that can definitely win its games by itself if you need it. One of the best defensive typings in the game as well. Has like 8 or 9 resistances with only 3 weaknesses, which is really good for Oxydrake. Harvesect is actually a great Loomian. I'm going to put it in the great tier. A lot of different coverage moves, really good bulk, and a really good ability, which makes it so it doesn't have an energy stat. While it does take chip damage over time because of its ability, its health stat is really high, and its bulk is really high. That doesn't even mention that it has a healing move and Parasitize to keep itself alive. Something that a lot of people don't know about Harvesect, that it actually has Brawn Boost and Counterpoise. And a lot of people just don't see that coming. It also has good covered moves in Harrow, Earthquake, and Icicle Tremor to hit certain threats. It even has Driving Force as well to force Lumians out. Harvesect is very good, very underrated, good defensive typing, and very good ability as well. Definitely belongs in the great tier. Wintrix, amazing. It's one of the easiest Lumians in the game to use because of its wise ability. Very smart, specialty goggles, wise. Wintrix absolutely shreds through Lumians because there's not many Lumians that have a high enough range defense stat to soak 2 wise specialty goggles boosted Wintrix hits. Very powerful, one of the easiest Lumians in the game to use, and it even has flexibility in the forms of Baffle, Perch, and it even has Rant to hit Lumians like Luminami. So, Wintrix definitely belongs in the amazing tier. Snagoop, good tier Lumian, has Barter, Immunize, meaning you can actually spread a Volcanic Ash or a Vigilant Fang on stuff. It also has the Marksman ability, which means after a buck up, it can actually hit extremely hard. And it's actually a really solid suicide lead as well. It's not only a good suicide lead to get Poison Bribes up, but it's also a Lumian that can just deal some nice damage in the early game. Very solid Lumian, very frail, but that's all it needs to do. It's a toxic type that's immune to Earth type moves, which is really good for it. So that's why Snagoop is in the good tier. Sorkame is a great tier Lumian. One of the better water type pivots in the game. If it wasn't for Luminami, it would be a lot higher, but has Seasong, which is really good. Only blocked by only a few Lumians, which a lot of those Lumians are weak to Sorkame's other moves. Has Body Crash to hit metal types, and it even has Tone Death, meaning you can actually use Sorkame as an offensive threat as well, because it actually has solid offensive stats as well. Unlike Luminami, who's usually ran a lot more bulky, you can actually use Sorkame's offenses to actually be very deadly as well. The reason why it isn't as high, though, is because I can't use the restrictive item, because Luminami gets free HP back with Power Napper, while Sorkame is stuck at spamming Rejuvenate. Still, though, very good bulky water pivot, and I feel like it's a Lumian that will rise once Luminami gets nerfed. Banfino is also a great Lumian, one of the best banana split Lumians in the game. It's also a very good lead as well, very nimble provoke, can stop a lot of hazard leads, and its abilities, Bully and Sly, can actually go through Clutch and Clutch plushies, which is really nice for it. Very good coverage as well, as you have Frost Beam to hit opposing plant types that Water Plant will not usually hit. So that's really good for a Lumian like Banfino. It can also be used as a late game cleaner with a Magnify. You set up a Magnify, and then Banfino can be very dangerous in the late game. A lot of different ways to use Banfino, a lot of different sets you can use on it, and you can even use Stolfino if you really want to. So, Banfino belongs in the great tier. Kanabo is interesting. I'm going to put it in the average tier, because there's only one set that really works with Kanabo. Its other 2 abilities kind of suck right now, but its Ambush Gloves Kanabo can actually put teams in pins. There's that. The problem is that it's one of the hardest Lumians in the game to use. And if you use Kanabo as your Ambush Lumian, it's the opportunity cost of not being Terafly. That's kind of a problem. It's the opportunity cost of not being Terafly. Terafly is just a lot better as an Ambush Lumian compared to Kanabo. But Kanabo can be good at this role too. Problem with Kanabo is that it doesn't really have another set that it can use, and you pretty much know exactly what it's going to do every battle. Now, if you could stop it is anyone's guess, but you pretty much know what it's going to do every single time someone brings it. And that's why Kanabo is in the average tier. Samarine is actually a good tier Lumian, very good restrictive armor. It's kind of similar to Searnite. It's kind of like the water type version of Searnite in a way, except it has Fade Away pivot, which Fade Away is actually really good for it. If you run this thing with a Terrifying ability and a restrictive item, this is actually one of the bulkiest pivot waters in the game. Reason why it isn't higher on the list is because Sorkame and Luminami just do more. But still, I feel like Samarine can actually be ran on certain teams over Sorkame or Luminami, depending on what you want. Lumelo is also a good tier Lumian, one of the bulkiest water types in the game. really bulky hazard setter. There's actually a Lumillo that won an I-8 tournament a couple years ago, which was really nice. It used Hypnotize and hazards. Has Wavewrecker and Baneful Bash to hit certain hazard leads as well. Very good against the main hazard leads in Bonfino, Gargolem Speed, and even Gobademic it could do pretty good against, even though it is weak to Muck Blast. Very good Loomian, has the Repugnant ability, making it so it doesn't take too much damage from chomping moves, meaning even Loomians like Tyrex and Hunter, or Loomians who could hit it for super effective damage, all of a sudden just don't do anything to it, and then they get poisoned, which is really good for a Loomian like Lumillo. You could save it later in the game and then get a critical poison on two very dangerous Loomians. And chomping moves are very common right now, so there's a very good chance you'll get Repugnant activating a lot of games. So, Lumillo, very underrated, can set up barbs, and its Repugnant ability can be very handy. Definitely belongs in the good tier. Delusa is meh. Nothing else to say here. Has Deep Freeze to hit those pesky water types, which is good, but doesn't do enough damage. Its defenses aren't as good as Luminami, and it can't really heal its HP back that well. It belongs in the mid tier. Terrashino's average. Very good bulk. The problem is it's a pure simple type, and if you're using Terrashino as a bulky pivot, it's the opportunity cost of not being Luminami, Zerkame, and Phoenix. It's the opportunity cost of not being all the other bulky pivots. You know, Luminami, Zerkame, Infernix, Eliguana. There's so many other bulky pivots in the game that are better. Even Lumians like Samarine, or there's some other ones as well. Cleone's up there too. Even Waka Laka with Dissipate could be up there too if you're using that with Mycotic. It's the opportunity cost of not being those. There is one thing that Terrashino can do good with. It does have Bequeath, and it's probably the best Bequeath Lumian in the game. But it's kind of hard to use. It's a very hard strategy to use because Bequeath always goes last, so you're always going to be able to take a hit. You have to live 2 hits in order to get your setup and your Bequeath off. Doesn't mean that it's bad, though. It can be very dangerous against certain teams, especially if you have the right matchup against certain teams. But it's not the best. Solid bulky pivot, solid Bequeath Lumian, that's it. That's why it's only in the average tier. Lyricatt's around the same way. Does have Hasten, though, which definitely buffed it, and it can hit decently hard after a Hasten. But again, if you're using Lyricat, it's the opportunity cost of not being Dusket or Ferroglyph. So, unfortunately, it only belongs in the average tier. There's Boonary. Boonary is actually a good Lumian. Very good on stall teams, and copying a certain setup sweeper can be very high impact. And the thing that's good about Boonary is, unlike in Pokemon, where if you have a bad matchup, if you're facing a stall team and you have to bring Boonary, you don't have to bring Boonary in Loomian Legacy because even though there is a team of 7 on Team Preview, you're only allowed to bring 5. So if Boonary has a bad matchup, you could just leave it behind and then bring your other 6 to deal with their 5. So it's a lot better. Boonary is a lot better in a game like Loomian Legacy than it is on Pokemon. So it definitely belongs in the good tier. We have Cleone. Cleone is also a good tier Lumian, just like with Lumillo. Has Repugnant, has Dissipate. And it's one of the bulkiest range tanks in the game. It also has screens, probably one of the better screen setters in the game, and it has Gust to remove hazards. Only reason why it's not higher is, again, the opportunity cost of not being Luminami or Sakame. But it does have some niches, like the Repugnant ability, slower Dissipate, meaning it could pivot on Luminami, which is good. It can pivot on Luminami, which is nice. And, you know, its defensive typing might be bad, but it also just has good bulk on both sides, meaning it can actually live hits pretty effectively. Sinogre? Surprisingly a good tier Lumian. Has Spite, has Poison, and can even run an offensive moveset pretty well as well. Biggest problem with Sinogre is that it doesn't really have any reliable ways to heal. This Lumian was actually really good in Season 1 of Rank, when Servlin and Soulburst Crakalola are everywhere. This Lumian was really good at neutralizing Servlin, which was awesome. And it's still a Lumian that shows up every once in a while. Also got buffed recently with the Ignorant ability, one of the better Ignorant Lumians in the game. Biggest problem with Sinogre is that if you're using Sinogre as your Ignorant Lumian, it's the opportunity cost of not being Wobbleless, which we'll get to in a little bit, but pretty good Lumian with some pretty good tools. Definitely belongs in the good tier. Sorelli is banned, but even if Sorelli wasn't banned, Sorelli would be up here in Amazing or Godly. Now, people might be shocked that I'm talking about Sorelli a lot because Sorelli has really garbage-based stats, and it's a very luck-reliant Lumian. The thing that people don't get with Sorelli is that you can't really stop it. The best way to stop Sorelli is Ignorant, which the only main Ignorant Lumian is Wobbleless. Yes, there's sometimes Sinogre, but it's mainly just Wobbleless. Wobbleless is the only one. Traffic's Force can maybe deal with it too, but even then, you still gotta deal with Sorelli. Because even though Sorelli doesn't have the best attacking move, it has Perch, It has Dodge to get more setups, and it has Provoke. Provoke makes it so Lumians cannot rejuvenate stall on it, and can make it so Lumians can't set up on it. That's something that I feel like a lot of people don't get with Sorelli, is that if it gets a speed boost, it has the fastest Provoke out of any Lumian in the game. I think it's a lot more broken than people give it out to be. Despite being an uncompetitive Lumian, I think it's just a broken Lumian as well. I think even without Appetite, even if it had just a normal ability, I think it would actually be solid as just this. I think it would actually be solid as just a Provoke Lumian to stop hazard setups. So it's in the banned tier. It would probably be an amazing tier if it wasn't banned, but yeah, it's a banned Lumian because of its uncompetitiveness of its ability. Fishkarna is a good tier Lumian, best regift Lumian in the game, but again, the biggest problem with Fishkarna is the opportunity cost of not being Luminami or Sakame. It's even worse for Fishkarna because it actually doesn't have any pivot moves, but it does have a little bit more offenses in his moveset, and its regift ability can be really nice for certain teams. So that's why Fishkarna is still in the good tier, while Festifer is in the average tier. It's because Fishkarna is the better regift Lumian of the two. So yeah, Beneki, good tier Lumian, very good on Thunderstorm teams, is immune to both Flash and Fleet and Zip Zap, which is really nice, but it doesn't really hit that hard even after a Magnify. So it does struggle in actually, dealing damage sometimes. Despite that though, it's a Lumian that's able to hit Crakalola, Luminami, and Lachette for super effective damage. So it's a really good Lumian in this meta, even with that lack of damage. So definitely belongs in the good tier. Sea Drake is average. I'm sorry, man. Sea Drake is cool. Thorn Slam Anomaly is very strong, but the problem is its speed is slower, meaning it has to run specialty boots, and if it's running specialty boots and being stuck in a Thorn Slam, it's easier to switch in and revenge kill it. Very predictable Lumian. You pretty much know what it's going to use if it does use a Anomaly Thorn Slam. There are other moves, like there is Insulated Raidful Plushie, which can actually be very strong in certain situations, but it isn't as good as compared to other plant types. I mean, if you're using Sea Drake, why not just use Tatub? Tatub is right there. You even have other offensive plant types like Beneki right there, or Soulburst Floren. Like, they're right there. Why not just use them? The thing is with Sea Drake, it's good, but if you use Sea Drake, it's the opportunity cost of not being Tatub. And that's why it's in the average tier. Alvantic, great tier Lumian, very good in this meta. Electric Toxic, really good in this meta. Also has Ancient coverage, which is really good because it hits Venusaur and hits Venusaur and Harvestech, which would be two Lumians that would usually wall it. Has Poison to hit Lumians like Tyrex and Himber, and it has Gnarlygash to hit a lot of other threats as well, like plant types for super effective damage. Definitely belongs in the great tier, not in the amazing tier, but pretty close. Very good offensive Lumian. Now, let's get to the Imperiors. Normal Imperior is surprisingly a good tier Lumian. Has Resentful, which can be very good at getting rid of a critical threat, and it has Handy Barbs, meaning it can actually set up Barbs over any Lumian in the game. Also has the fastest Provoke out of any Lumian in the game as well with Handy Provoke. It is a little frail and its defensive typing isn't the best, but hey, if you're able to provoke a Suicide Lead, you can actually set up Barbs on yourself, and then you can actually get out of a bad matchup. Really nice for hazard setting Imperior. But doesn't lay a finger on Soulburst Imperior. Got a Braum boost up. This thing, you can't really live any hit in the game after this thing gets a Braum boost. Hits Lumian for super effectively. Can even hit Soulburst Crakalola after a Braum boost. Has a lot of different moves it can run. It can run melee. It can run range. It's faster than Gargolem attack as well. And it can run Totemize stats. Also has the Ace ability, which makes its dark type moves do even more damage. Reason why it isn't higher is because it is very frail and it is weak to priority moves, but very powerful. Honestly, I'm even debating about putting it a tier higher, but I think I'm just going to put it in the great tier right for now, because there is another dark type Lumian I'm going to put higher than that. Holly Bunch, great tier Lumian, very good defensive typing. Plant Light is really good other than being quad weak to dark, and hits really hard, and it has pivot. Really good coverage moves as well. Another Lumian that can actually hit Lumian Crack for super effective damage. Very slow, very good under Bane of Haste, very strong. Very bulky as well. Really good Lumian with the restrictive items. So, great tier Lumian. I have Barbadger. Barbadger is going to be a good tier Lumian. Honestly, pretty underrated. Very good with the Dauntless. After it gets a Dauntless boost, there's not really anything in the game that can switch into it. Despite having a garbage defensive typing, it actually synergizes well with its Dauntless ability. And if you can bring this into slow Lumians, you can OHKO those bulky tanks with a super effective hit, or 2-hit KO an offensive thing trying to revenge kill it in 2 hits. that's the thing that makes Barbadger really dangerous. And the thing is, Barbadger is honestly very underrated because it has very strong stab moves and it has Clay Slap to deal with fire types. The biggest reason why it isn't higher is because it is harder to use compared to other offensive Lumians. And just like with some of the other Lumians I ranked at around this tier, it's the opportunity cost of not being Borak. Borak, despite being slower, just hits a lot more things harder. And it's a lot bulkier, too, with a better defensive typing. So, despite having priority and more speed, and even more attack to an extent, Barbadger is a little bit lower than Borak, but still a good tier Lumian. Now let's get the Dragodyne. Normal Dragodyne is a good Lumian. It's a good Lumian. Honestly, I'm going to put it a tier higher. I'm going to put it in the great tier, actually. Normal Dragodyne's good. The biggest thing that holds it back is its relatively low speed stat, but it has Tear Down and Remove Hazards, has Draco Beam, has very just powerful move, and it's really good on Dragodyne because its Staunch ability makes it so it's immune to Tear Down, one of the most common ways of removing hazards, and it makes it so Draco Beam doesn't lose any ranged attack when you use it. Also has Dark Air, which is really good because the Dark types that can't hit Bug types can hit it with Air types with super effective damage. Really strong, really good offensive typing, which synergizes very well with Soulburst Dragodyne. And honestly, oh, you were in good, right? Yeah, I put you in the good tier, my bad. I keep messing up. Yeah, I do. Soulburst Dragodyne, on the other hand. Oh, this is so tough. Is it amazing or godly? Honestly, I'm just going to put it in the amazing tier for now. It's at the very high end of it. It's probably one of the best Soulbursts in the game. But since I have Soulburst Crakalola right here, I'm going to put Soulburst Dragodyne right here. Because I think Soulburst Dragodyne is only slightly worse than Soulburst Crack. Soulburst Dragodyne is another nightmare. It's banned in doubles. It's up there for one of the best Lumians in the entire game. Fast speed, hits hard, strong egg onslaught, 125 base power move that hits both enemies. Anytime you KO a Lumian, it gets a range attack increase. Very high range attack, and it has Peace of Mind set up. Nothing else to say. Just one of the best offensive threats in the game. If you don't respect Soulburst Dragodyne at Team Preview, you lost. You already lost. And unlike other fast offensive Lumians, this is also Lumian with relatively good bulk as well. So after a Peace of Mind, it can actually live super effective hits on the range side, which is pretty insane. So, yeah, amazing tier. Amazing tier Lumian, almost in godly. Only 2 Lumians are in godly tier. Terraclaw, great tier Lumian. Honestly, could be considered for amazing tier, but I'm only going to put it in the great tier because it does struggle at hitting light types. That is a critical weakness that the Reaper Terraclaw has, but it does have tricky tactics, so it isn't completely useless versus light types. It's just only mostly useless against them. Does have the Fog ability, which is a really good weather, one of the better weathers in the game. It can set up strategies like Ursul and Revenine and Wyndolin very well. And yeah, it has Flash and Flee and Fadeaway Pivot, which is really good. One of the best defensive typings in the game of only having one weakness. Thing is, if Terraclaw was able to hit light types again, it'd be right here in Godly, maybe even up here. But since it can't really consistently hit light types, I'm lagging a lot. I don't know why. I'm going to put it in the great tier. Now we got Beetleforge. Beetleforge is the Heatwave Weather Setter, belongs in the good tier. Very good bulk, very good defensive typing as well. Only 3 weaknesses, despite having a quad weakness to Earth. And it kind of loses its weakness to water if you're using Heatwave. Also has the Scorching Skin ability, which makes it so you can trap melee attackers. And yeah, just a very strong Lumian. The biggest reason why Beetleforge is that good and not amazing is because it's the opportunity cost of not being Crakalola. If you want a Scorching Skin Lumian, you could just use Crakalola. If you want a Heat Summon Lumian, you could just use Crakalola. The thing is, Beetleforge is at least a better Heatwave setter than Crakalola. That at least has that. Because it can run something called the Heat Skill item, which makes Heatwave last for 8 turns. When if you run it with Crakalola's Soulburst only lasts for 5 turns. Meaning, you can actually pivot around a little bit with the rest of your team going into your Heatwave Sweeper a lot easier if you use Beetleforge compared to if you use something like Soulburst Crakalola. So that's why Beetleforge still gets a lot of use, especially when setting up Heatwave for its team. Problem is that Heatwave is one of the worst weathers right now, so it is very hard to use. But once there are some good Heatwave setters in the game, or Heatwave sweepers, Beetleforge is definitely going to be on the rise. It might be on the rise already, because it's going to keep Scorching Skin, while Crakalola is going to lose it. So, it might be something that's on the rise already. Alright, Sherbot. Meh. The problem with Sherbot is its defensive typing is bad, but that's not the reason why it's in the meh tier. It's because of its stats. It has really low offensive stats. It's a Glass Cannon Lumian by its typing, but its stats really wants it as a defensive Lumian. But it sucks as a defensive Lumian because its typing sucks. Like, honestly, if Sherbot just lost 10 melee defense, and you put that in its range attack, it's at least an average, maybe even in good tier. Because Sherbot has a lot of covered moves. It's actually decent under Thunderstorms. Has Zip Zap Pivot. It will get Climate Cannon soon, which will also be nice for it as well. And it will actually be a very good Thunderstorm Sweeper as well, because it has Jump Start to make it set up. Also has Sugar Rush as well, so it can actually be used in other weathers with the Globe item. So, there's actually a lot of different ways Sherbot can be used. If it just had 10 more ranged attack, it would actually be a lot higher on this list, funnily enough. But unfortunately, its bad defensive typing and lack of offensive stats does make it struggle a little bit. So I'm putting it in the mid tier, but it isn't as bad as the Lumians down here. Lumala, I'm honestly going to put Lumala in the good tier. I think it's underrated. Fast speed, wholesome ability makes it so it has no weaknesses, and can pretty much do whatever it wants. Has infinite coverage options with Spit Out, and yeah, has pretty good coverage moves in general. It has Boom Bash to hit metal types, and it has Energy Break to hit ancient types. Biggest reason why it isn't higher is because its range attack, just like with Sherbot's, its range attack is pathetically low. But I feel like, unlike with Sherbot, I feel like keeping Lumala's range attack stat really low is good. So I feel like if Lumala even had 115 range attack, I feel like it would actually be too strong because of its ability to have infinite coverage with Spit Out. So I'm putting it in the good tier. Weaslin, it's meh right now. It's not bad because Trader can still be used, and Rush Hour is really good. It can actually make Weaslin as a suicide lead. It has the most energy out of any Lumian in the game, and it does have some nice moves. Driving's Force, Provoke, Barbs, Health Gift. Has some nice moves for a suicide lead, especially if you're using it with Rush Hour. But it gets outclassed by all the other suicide leads, just like with Gobademic. If you're using Weaslin, you're suffering from the opportunity cost of not being Ganderville or Skargolem's speed. So, that's why Weaslin is in the med tier. Moriel, good tier Lumian, very good on their Bane of Haste. One of many ability, one of the best abilities in the game. Makes it so you're immune to stat buffs and stat nerfs, while also being immune to status conditions as well. It's just a very good ability altogether. Dark Electric is not the best typing, but it's very good offensively, especially when combined with its coverage moves with Landslide to hit Electric and Fire, and Feral Blast to hit Lashent. Also has Zip Zap and Jolt, meaning it has priority and pivot as well. There's a lot of different roles you can actually use with this thing, and it's actually one of the best counters for Wiki Wiki in the game. So, Oriole, very underrated, very good Lumian. If this was Season 2, it'd probably be in the great tier, but right now it is kind of struggling in this meta, so it's going to be in the good tier. Alright. Grabtana's average. Pretty solid Vengeance Lumian, and the Power Claw ability definitely made it stronger with Drudge. But the problem is that Power Claw only boosts Razor Slash. You could use Hydro Slash, but Hydro Slash is just kind of a weak move, and it doesn't really OHKO many of the bulky fires. And it is easy to read. You kind of know what Grabtana is going to do, and that's why it's only in the average tier. But it can be dangerous against certain matchups. Terradescent, good Lumian. Two good abilities. Illuminate makes it so it hits pretty hard with Body Slam, and it has the Mesmerizing ability, which makes it immune to priority moves. Also a very good defensive typing, only has two weaknesses, both to Dark and a quad weakness to Metal. The thing that holds Terradescent back is the fact that it needs 2 or 3 Drudges in order to win the game. 1 Drudge isn't enough, you're going to need 2 or 3, because it has a relatively slow speed stat, and its melee attack stat isn't the highest. So that's why Terradescent is only in the good tier and not higher. Now, we're getting into the shrimps. Pronsu is actually underrated. I'm going to put that in the good tier. It can actually do really well in a meta with Lashent using Petrifying on it. And it can actually hit Lashent for super effective damage. It also hits Crakalola for super effective damage as well. It does struggle versus Luminami, but it can hit Luminami decently hard if you play it right. Especially if you're running this thing with specialty goggles. So, I'm going to put it in the good tier. Shrimp Post is a tier lower, but it does have counterpoise, meaning you can use it as a priority Lumian as well. Both of the shrimps are solid, underrated Lumians that can be good in certain metas. So, the reason why Shrimp Post is worse is because it is slightly slower, but it does have a priority move. But problem is if you run a priority move on Shrimp Post, it's the opportunity cost of not being parasitized, and teams can exploit that. So, that's why it's only in the average tier, while Pronsu is in the good tier. For Wraith, great tier Lumian. Really good restrictive item, has Baffle and Fade Away, so it has double pivot, has Shatter, which is basically barbs, but you can attack the opposing Loomian, which is nice. And it has two good abilities. Analyze makes it so you get an attack increase, or you have the reflective ability, which makes it immune to Flash and Flay. Reason why it isn't that much higher, though, this guy exists. Even though you could hit Luminami for super effective, like Dark Surge and Thunder Chomp, when Luminami's in the game, you can't really let Moraith do what it wants to do. You want it to pivot out. You want it to set barbs up with Shatter. You can't really do that when Luminami swaps into the game. So even though you can hit Luminami for super effective damage, it is still an effective play to use Luminami against Moraith because you stop Moraith from setting hazards up. So also Luminami can Wave Wrecker a Moraith's weaker melee defense side. Still good in the meta though, where Valkyrie is running rampant though. So that's why Moraith is still a great tier Loomian, even with the Luminami threat being an issue. Thaumin, honestly, Thaumin is a good Loomian. It isn't great like it used to be because after a layer of barbs, it can do it in. Because Foresight, in the past, Foresight would make it right here, amazing tier. But the Foresight nerf completely hurt Thaumin. Mainly because now you have to deal with hazards. The good thing is at the very least, it is immune to icicle traps because it is an ice type. So you are immune to one layer of traps, and even poison barbs you do decent as well because your first attack will still have priority if you switch into poison barbs. It's mainly just barbs that you got to deal with. Problem is that barbs is the hardest hazard out of the three to deal with. But it does have priority Psycho Blast. It can hit metal types with Thunderstrike, and it can hit even Lumians like Tyrex with Nature's Force. So very strong Loomian, definitely belongs in the good tier. You can even consider up here if you're able to keep the hazards off. But yeah, Foresight, 90 base power Psycho Blast, or still 90 base power priority Psycho Blast. So it belongs in the good tier. Lashent is an amazing tier Loomian. It's Lumishent. Not quite in the godly tier, but it's really close. Has the petrifying ability, really good bulk, tricky tactics, slap down, ice earth coverage, brawn boost, rejuvenate, sap plant, briar block, hypnotize, icicle traps. You can do whatever you want with this. There's nothing else to really say here. Despite having 2 quad weaknesses, technically 3 if you count Mycotic Wakalaka. But yeah, legit, it's so bulky. It can even live quad effective hits most of the time, which is just kind of insane. And definitely belongs in the amazing tier. Cram Boss. We're going to be talking about normal Cram Boss and Soulburst Cram Boss. Both of them are good tier Lumians. Soulburst Cram Boss would be around the same tier. Normal Cram Boss is good because you can run an item on it. You have Spike Rush, you have Battle Chime. You can run boots, you can run gloves. There's a lot of different sets you can actually run on Cram Boss. And the Ravenous ability makes it so you can actually stop setup sweepers. If there's a Lumian that's set up sweeping, you can use Ravenous, hit them once, and then they lose all their stat boosts. But the Soulburst Cram Boss is very strong as well because its Soulburst form has the Metallic ability, which not only increases the stab move of Metal type stab, but it also gives you all the Metal type resistances while also not being a Metal type. Meaning you don't have the Metal type weaknesses, but have the Metal type resistances. Meaning Cram Boss, Soulburst Cram Boss, is one of the best checks for win tricks in the game. Normal Cram Boss tend to run a lot more offense, while Soulburst Cram Boss tend to run a lot more utility. They run Icicle Traps, they run Barbs, they run Baffled, and Slapdown as utility, while using Ruthless Feast to steal stat boost. While the normal Cram Boss uses Battle Chime Milkshake with Spike Rush priority, or they run this offensive Cram Boss with a specialty item to make it hit harder. 2 different sets, 2 different ways to use Cram Boss. Definitely belongs in the good tier, because it does have a very good niche right now. Shyenta is also a good Loomian, has Light Dash priority, 115 speed, which is one of the fastest speed stats in the game, and has a very good coverage move in Mega Punch to deal with metal types. So, after a Brawn boost, this thing can hit really hard, despite not having a very high melee attack stat. So, Shyenta is a good tier Loomian. Alright, we're going into Parasol. Meh. Probably the worst out of... Honestly, I actually think Parasol might be the worst out of the yokais. And the reason why is because Parasol kind of doesn't know what it wants to be. Its speed stat is 74, which is a very bad speed stat. But other Lumians make it work. The reason why it works for Tyrex is because Tyrex has good bulk, good defensive typing, and a lot of good moves. The problem with Parasol is that it doesn't hit hard enough, it's not bulky enough, and it doesn't have a healing move. And its defensive typing is the same as Cephalops, but its defensive typing isn't the best, because Cephalops makes it work because of its good bulk. Parasol doesn't have the best bulk. While it does have Gust to increase its speed and get rid of hazards, that's kind of the only thing it really has. And it's the opportunity cost of, again, not using this guy, who's going to be unbanned going into Year 2, Season 1. So, yeah, Parasol's in the med tier. Bywarn is also in the med tier as well. But the thing is, I think Bywarn's actually a little bit better because it has Splitting Headache, Do or Die under Bane of Haste, which can actually hit really hard. And after a setup, it actually has some really good coverage moves to hit some other guys as well. Singles Bywarn, though, is considered one of the worst PvP Lumians in the game. But its Do or Die Bane of Haste set saves it from being down here. But in doubles, Bywarn is actually one of the best Lumians in double. Like, as a doubles Lumian, Bywarn would be up here in the amazing tier. But we're counting only singles right now. So, unfortunately for singles, Bywarn is a meh tier Lumian. You have Landtorch. Landtorch is a good tier Lumian. It did get nerfed with the loss of Wildfire. Wildfire getting nerfed hurt Landtorch more than it did Thaumin. But at least Landtorch still had Do or Die, which Do or Die Landtorch can pretty much destroy anything that's not named Eliguana or Illuminami. If it was able to find a way to deal with those Lumians a lot more consistently, it would definitely be a lot higher, but it hits really hard. Really good defensive typing, really good offensive typing as well. And it has some other moves like Fade Away to pivot out of bad matchups, and it also has Final Ruse, so you could sacrifice it with another Lumian and go 1-to-1 with them. So that is also really good for it as well. Definitely belongs in the good tier. And Ronsador is a great tier Lumian, very threatening, hits hard, Do or Die, very good defensive typing, hits Lumishent Crack for super effective damage, and it has really good range bulk as well, and a fast speed stat. So out of all the yokais, Ronsador is easily the best one. Now, we're going into some of the newer fossils. We have Nautilus. Bad. Has Wise, but again, it's the opportunity cost of not being Wintrix. Has Bane of Haste, but it's not really good as a Bane of Haste sweeper. It's the opportunity cost of funnily enough not being Bywarn. Kind of sad. And it has Mind Drain, but it's the opportunity cost of not being Ferroglyph. So, yeah. There's really no reason to use Nautilus other than it's a Bane of Haste sweeper that could set up Bane of Haste for itself. So it does have an extra turn at least of Bane of Haste. But Bane of Haste is not really a good game style, so it belongs in the bad tier. Knockout is a little bit better, but it's still not that good. It doesn't have totemizable stats, just like Nautilus, but its offensive typing is better. Defensive typing is worse, but its offensive typing is better, and its bulk is actually built in a way where Rachel Plushie Knockout can actually be very dangerous, because Vital Jab can keep it healthy, and Primal Slash can hit the pesky spear types for super effective damage. It even has Quick Punch as a priority move if you're running Assertive, so at least has that. Not good. Still no reason to use this over any of the other Lumians up here, but if you're forced to use Knockout, you can actually use it really well. Now, we're going into one of the most controversial Lumians on this list, U-Typhoon. And U-Typhoon can legit go anywhere on this list. People could put U-Typhoon up here in the great tier. People could put U-Typhoon here in the mad tier. But personally, I think it's a good tier Lumian. It has all the fundamentals. It has Gust to remove hazards, has Petrifying, pretty good speed stat at 105. It's a bulky Lumian that's fast, which is very rare. Not many Lumians have that. Very good defensive typing, very good ability, very good move pool. The biggest problem with U-Typhoon is the meta that it's stuck in. It's stuck in a meta with Luminami, Stratosaur, and Lachette all walling it. If it wasn't for these three demons, this thing would be a lot higher. I feel like if Lumian Legacy had a UU tier, U-Typhoon would be the best Lumian in UU because it hits decently hard, has good bulk, has good abilities, has Gust, has Perch, has a good defensive type, it has everything. Has all the basic fundamentals to be good. If it could just be given a move that hit these three, like if this thing had something like Thunder Chomp to hit Lumi and Strat for super effective damage, it would only have to really deal with Lachette. So that would really, a move like Thunder Chomp, I feel like could really help U-Typhoon. But as it is now, it's still a good Lumian, and it still has the basic fundamentals to be good on certain stall teams. So it belongs on the good tier. Venusaur, on the other hand, amazing. One of the best offensive threats in the game right now. It can pretty much hit anything in the game. There's nothing that can really wall Venusaur, And it has other sets it can run as well, like it can run Poison Barbs as well to get poison damage. It has Barb Trap to just dodge a turn, and it has Poison. So, has other moves it can run as well. It doesn't have to just run its main 2 offensive moves. And it has Mega Punch to hit Tyrex for super effective damage, which is also really nice. So, amazing tier Lumian definitely belongs up there. Plasmoth. Plasmoth is a great tier Lumian. Almost in the amazing tier, but I am going to leave it a tier down because it can be a liability sometimes. But the thing is with Plasmoth, it's another case of a bulky Lumian that's fast. And it's really good for a Lumian like Plasmoth because it doesn't have a high range attack stat. It's a sitting duck. But it works because it has Pestilence to trap a Lumian in and then provoke him. Plasmoth can win a lot of 1v1s versus bulky Lumians by Pestilence trapping them, provoking them, and then rejuvenating spamming on them. It also has pivot moves in both Dissipate and Zip Zap. And it also is one of the best weather setters in the game as well, as it's really bulky and can set up thunderstorms, which is a really good weather. So, Plasmoth belongs on the great tier. Violana, average. Good Lumian, has Hullabaloo, has decent coverage, but again, if you're using Violana, it's the opportunity cost of not being Terraclaw. Like, if you want a bulky bug type that can hit decently hard, it's a raid bossy bug type, Terraclaw's right there. Terraclaw's right there, and even then, that role isn't even that valuable on a team. It does have Tear Down, though, which is cool, and it does have Landslide to hit metal type, so there's at least that. That's why it's an average tier Lumian. Ganderville, good tier Lumian, a lot of different sets you can run on it. One of the best hazard leads in the game, and it has some really good abilities. Has the Compliant ability, which makes it immune to Provoke. Has the Hydrate ability, which makes it immune to water type attacks, which is good. And it has a lot of good moves. Has Barbs, has Icicle Traps, has Perch, has Provoke, has Ill Will, has Quick Pounce, has Rogue Assault, has Slapdown, has Nosedive. A lot of different moves it can run. It's not the best Lumian. It will never be the star Lumian on a team. But it has a lot of different roles that it can be, and you never know which Ganderville set it is until you face it. It also has Baffle, so you can even run this thing with like specialty boots as well. So it has Baffle as well. Lots of different moves, lots of different support items, even a lot of offensive moves you can run on it as well. So I think it belongs in the good tier. We have Banokey. Banokey's fine. I'm going to put it in the average tier. No. I'm going to put it in good because Berserk Banokey's been buffed because it did just get Raging Tackle back, which is really good for it. And it does have Assertive Redemptive Strike, which is unblockable, and Banana Split can still be very effective. Problem with Banokey is that it's the opportunity cost of not being Banfino. But still, I still think it's a good Banana Split Lumian. It also has Hazards and Icicle Trap and Slapdown utility, which is something that Banfino doesn't have. So it does have some nice niches that it does have over Banfino, even though Banfino, I think, is the better Banana Splitter. Alright, Malevolwax. Malevolwax is a stereotypical great Lumian. May not have any healing moves, but it has good bulk, hits hard, and it has a lot of good utility moves. Has Barbs, has Raging Flame, has Hullabaloo, has Rant, has Spectral Burst, has Fire Breath, has Gamma Pulse, has pretty much any move you want on it. Has Fade Away as well. You can pretty much run Malevolwax in any playstyle. You could run it as a bulky Barb setter. You could run it as an annoying Raging Flamer. You can run it as Specialty Boots or Specialty Gloves set. You can run it as a Stall Breaking set with Hullabaloo. You can run it as a Fast Pivoter with Fade Away. There's a lot of different sets you can run on Malevolwax, and it's a very flexible Lumian. The biggest flaw with Malevolwax is, again, the opportunity cost of not being Soulburst Crakalola. But at least, unlike Soulburst Crakalola, this Lumian doesn't need a Soul Burst to be within its defensive typing, and it's a lot faster and hits a lot harder too. So there is at least that. So there at least is a reason to use Malevolwax over Soul Burst Crakalola. So that's why Malevolwax is in the great tier. Obolos is a good tier Lumian, has two really good abilities. It has Whale, which makes it so anytime a Lumian is knocked out, it boosts Obolos attack, and it's really good because it has Trick Shot, which is a 70 base power priority move. And it has good covered moves in Landslide, Mudslide, Quicksand, and Energy Break to hit other threats for a lot of damage. But its C set is definitely the more powerful set, as it's able to block all momentum moves, while also having a lot of support moves like Sap Plant and Dodge. Trap Lumians in with Quicksand, set up a Sap Plant or a layer of Barbs, and then you just stall them out with Seize Obolos, trapping them in. So yeah, Obolos, good Lumian, a lot of different sets it can run. And it definitely deserves to be in the good tier. Pocolio is bad. Pocolio is one of those Lumians, which is one of the hardest Lumians in the game to use, because it does have great range bulk. But the problem is, it's a pure simple type, so it doesn't really react to the other types as much, and it's super weak on the melee side, so any Lumian can run a melee attack move to at least hit Pocolio for a lot of damage. But it is one of the most annoying Lumians in the game to deal with, and if you do deal with a well-played Pocolio, it can be very annoying to beat. The thing is, though, there are other Lumians that could do Pocolio's role a lot better. And that's why Pocolio's in the bad tier, because it's the opportunity cost of not being something like Stall Floren, or Stall Lachette, or Stall Eclipse, or even other Lumians I could just set up better. Like, it's just, Pocolio, I just don't think it's worth it. It's fine, it can do its job, it's just, it struggles because of its bad defensive typing and bad melee bulk. So, I think it belongs in the bad tier. Now, this thing is not a bad tier Lumian. Borealis is a great tier Lumian. Borealis has upper hand, and upper hand under fog, this thing hits really hard. Has really good coverage, can pretty much hit anything in the game, and it even has the elusive set to be very annoying. So, definitely belongs in the great tier. If this was elusive Season 3, it would be in the godly or ban-worthy tier, but even with that as it is now, it's still one of the most annoying Lumians in the game. Has Deep Freeze for Luminami as well, so not even Luminami can deal with an upper hand boosted Borealis if you fight the right sets. So, yeah, Borealis belongs in the great tier. Slavice is horrible, nothing else to say. One of the worst Lumians in the game. Only reason why it's not any lower is because at least its Toxic Sack ability is at least kind of okay, and it can Poison Stall a little bit, and Puncture can go through abilities. Other than that, it's just a bad Lumian. Horrible. Slavice is horrible. One of the worst of the new Lumians. And then, out of all the normal Lumians, this is the last one left. Danuki. Danuki is a good Lumian. It's very, even though it can't really do much offensively, it has handy Rejuvenate, which is just a big mistake. I don't know why Jamie gave this thing handy Rejuvenate. Used to be the best Banana Splitter in the game. It would have been in the amazing tier in the past, but it's really in the good tier now because it did lose Banana Split. It has so many good moves. It has Emulate, so it can become the other Lumian on the other side of the field. Has handy Rejuvenate, very good bulk, and it can even do some damage itself. So I think Danuki is very underrated, and definitely belongs in the good tier. Very annoying to deal with as well. So, those are all the normal Lumians. Now let's get to all the roamers. And the roamers are going to be ranked a lot higher compared to some of the other Lumians, because these Lumians have higher base stats. So, let's get to this. So, Dusket, good tier Lumian, has a lot of moves like Bitter Cold and Raging Flame to deal a lot to neuter a lot of Lumians. It also has very good offensive coverage, has Pyrokinesis and Dark Surge coverage to hit certain threats, and after a Hasten, this thing can actually do a lot of damage. If you're able to get a Hasten or two up, Dusket can actually sweep the game. Reason why it isn't higher is because it doesn't have a damage boosting ability unless you're using the secret ability, which is pretty hard to set up. So, Dusket only belongs in the good tier, but it is still a good Lumian. It used to be a lot worse, so I'm happy. Ever since it got Hasten, it made Dusket a good Lumian. Ikazune is a great tier Lumian, has double pivot, one of the faster fire types in the game, and it also has Blaze of Glory to hit Lumians like Plasmoth, which is really good for it, because in the past, range tanks were things that Ikazune couldn't deal with, but ever since it got Blaze of Glory, it was able to deal with those range tanks a lot better, which is really good for it. Has two good abilities, Raging Fire makes it immune to fire type attacks, and the rechargeable ability gives it a speed boost if hit by electric type attack, which is really good. Very good Lumian, has two different sets, has the Specialty Boots set, and has the Jolt Magnify set. So, has a lot of flexibility within its offensive prowess as well. So, definitely belongs in the great tier. Protagon. Protagon is also, I'm only going to put it in the good tier, but it will get Climate Cannon. When it gets Climate Cannon, it will probably be in the great tier, but it's a fast barb setter, has Analyze, and it has Zip Zap. Reason why it isn't higher is because a lot of teams bully Protagon and only giving it the melee attack increase. So sad. It's still a good Lumian though, and it can still be very dangerous against certain matchups. So that's why it's in the good tier. Nakuda is great, and Soulburst Nakuda is also a great tier Lumian. Both of these Lumians hit very hard. Soulburst Nakuda is amazing under thunderstorms, and the Specialty Gloves normal Nakuda just hits so hard. Even without Venom Slash, it's still a Lumian that just hits really hard. Not many Lumians can switch into this guy, and both Nakuda forms support each other very well, so that's why they both belong in the great tier. Cosmeleon is a meh Lumian. Probably the worst Lumian in the game because Cosmeleon kind of doesn't know what it wants to be. It's average. Has 100 base stats and everything. Which seems like you can pretty much use whatever you want with it. But you kind of can't. Because it doesn't really have a good set it could use. It will get buffed though, as the adaptable ability will make it so whatever type it changes into will get boosted attack, which will definitely help Cosmeleon, especially for weather teams. So it's probably going to be at least an average, or maybe even good in the future, but right now it just belongs in meh. Mutagon is a great tier Lumian. Specialty Gloves, Brawn Boost Mutagon, still very strong, nothing else to say here. Get this guy in the game, it KOs a Lumian. It lives pretty much any melee hit in the game, even quad effective ones. And yeah, does a lot of damage. Nothing else to say. Belongs in the great tier. Funny Squid Guy returns in Year 2 Season 1. So where does Cephalops rank? Is there really anything else to say? Of course it's going to be in the amazing tier. Soul Drain. Just spam Soul Drain, you win. It did lose Frost Beam, so it's not going to be able to hit the bug types as easy. It doesn't matter, though. It still has Water Dark offense and Icicle Trap. So if bug types do switch into Cephalops, they still got to deal with Icicle Traps. And Parasitize is actually a great move because it's a move that can actually deal with both Metronet and Lachette, which are two threats that Cephalops could not have dealt with in the past. So, yeah, it's an amazing tier Lumian. It's probably going to be banned in Year 2 Season 1 after a little bit. But yeah, just spam Soul Drain with this guy and you win. It definitely belongs in the amazing tier. I do have another pre-evolved Lumian on this list. I have Elephage. I didn't know how to rank this, but Elephage and Phageon are used differently, so decided to rank them separately. Elephage is average. It has a lot of sets it can use. It has the Malware ability and its Secret ability, which can actually be very good sometimes. And it's also good with the Drop of Youth, because this is a Lumian that can use the Drop of Youth and can be very dangerous. And it has double pivot, and it has a lot of different moves. Thing is, when you're using Elephage, it's the opportunity cost of not being Phageon, which is a great tier Lumian. Can be used both offensively and defensively. One of the most powerful Thunderstorm sweepers in the game. Nothing else to really say here. And it has double pivot and Flash and Flay and Zip Zap. So, great tier Lumian. Phageon is a monster. Now we're getting into the dragons. Glacidia is actually going to be a good tier dragon. I think when it gets magnified, it'll be in the great tier, but it's still good for what it is. Even though it can't deal with Luminami that well, it does have Raging Cow. So if you wear Specialty Goggles Glacidia, you can actually do a lot of damage to Luminami. It also has good moves, like if you run Peace of Mind, you can set up a Peace of Mind, and then you can actually 2-hit KO Iguana, which is nice. You can also 2-hit KO Lachette. It just gradually breaks through things, and it also has the Bitter Cold, which can actually stun range attackers, which is also really nice for this. So if a Luminami does switch into a Glacidia, it has to deal with a Bitter Cold, and its Flash and Fleas are dealing way less damage than it used to be. So Glacidia has a lot of different moves it can use. It also has Icicle Traps and also a very good range bulk. So that's why it's in the good tier. Arceus, average. Oh, I'm sorry. Arceus just struggles in a meta with Luminami. Nothing else to say. Luminami exists in this meta. Not to mention Crakalola can also do pretty good against it too. It used to be one of the most powerful Lumians in the game when it had Boiling Press, but when it lost Boiling Press, that thing just fell off a cliff fast. So it's an average tier Lumian. Nova Diaz is banned. The thing that's funny about Nova Diaz is that if Nova Diaz was in this meta, it would be here. It would not even be an amazing or godly Lumian. Because Nova Diaz is a weird Lumian. Because Nova Diaz can never beat Luminami in a 1v1. In a meta where Luminami is on 90% of teams, it feels like, Nova Diaz will always just get Luminami switching in. Luminami Flash and Flea is an offensive thing. Nova Diaz is dead. Every single time. But if Luminami is not in a meta, Nova Diaz destroys everything else. So, yeah. That's the reason why Nova Diaz is banned, if y'all are wondering. Just because Luminami is a common Lumian and can consistently beat Nova Diaz, it doesn't mean that Nova Diaz can't completely destroy everything else. If you're forced to run a Luminami on every team to beat Nova Diaz, then it's not a good meta game to play. So that's why Nova Diaz is banned. But if Nova Diaz was in this meta, it would be just in the great tier. Has a lot of different moves, very good typing, immune to Icicle Traps, and can also get rid of them as well. And it can even set up Icicle Traps itself. Can be ran mixed, and is one of the most powerful Lumians in the game. Except against Luminami. This thing destroys it. So, It's in the banned tier because it's banned. Nothing else to really say there. Alright. Morphizu. Morphizu is a great... Honestly, I'm going to put it in amazing tier. One of the best gust sweepers in the game. Expert Onslaught hits so hard. One of the best doubles lumians in the game as well. If it didn't have that weakness against other metal types, it would be the most busted lumian on the freaking planet. But for as it is, it's still insane. Even with that metal type weakness, this thing can even still break through some frail metal types, which is just kind of insane. So, Morphizu is in the amazing tier. Behemoth is a good tier lumian. Hits pretty hard, but not as good as the Avatross or Typhoon, but hits pretty hard, has Mudslide, has moves like Timber Thrash to hit Luminami, but does get walled by Lashent. And Avatross is a great tier lumian. Great in the late game, very good on ranked teams, and hits really hard. Also has Lunge to hit Lashent, but cannot really deal with Luminami. But if you run Bulk Up, you can actually Bulk Up on Luminami, because Luminami actually doesn't do much back. And Avatross is the second fastest Lumian in the game, meaning setting up on a Luminami switching in and then setting up again as it flash and flees, it's actually not a bad idea for it. So, Avatross is a very good Lumian, very good late game cleaner, especially in the rain weather. Now we got the Cosmeres. Cosmere Meatball is average. Not a bad bulky pivot, very good at setting up Bane of Haste, but again, it's the opportunity cost of not being in Pharynx, and just way too passive to be used in singles. The Crack form can be good. I feel like once it gets Climate Can, it will be in the good tier, but right now it's just average. It just kind of struggles. It struggles because it can't metal types. Unleashed form, on the other hand, is an amazing tier Lumian. One of the most underrated Lumians in the game. Hits really hard. Has Slapdown to get rid of items and hit Luminami, and has Fire Slam to hit metal types. Can be ran with Specialty Gloves to hit hard, is anti-weather, and can be ran with Specialty Boots to outspeed certain threats. So, yeah. Cosmere Unleashed, amazing tier Lumian. Soul Necta, great tier Lumian. Does everything good. Doesn't really have anything that it excels in, but it does have Magnify Lightspeed Ray, which is very strong. And you can actually beat through a lot of threats with it. I mean, it has Fire Rep to hit metal types. It has Ferroblast, which after a Magnify can actually 2-hit KO Luminami, which is nice. And you can actually beat through fire types if you're not running Lightspeed Ray. So, a lot of different sets you can run on Soul Necta, but its best set is 100% Magnify Lightspeed Ray. Hits hard, has good bulk. Biggest flaw is mainly its low speed stat, but has a good ability, good stats, and just good move pool across the board. An overall good Lumian that belongs in the great tier. Nimure's good, Specialty Boots is good, has Flash and Flee, hits really hard, but its offensive typing isn't the best. Light Air is just not that good of an offensive typing, and it gets walled by a lot of those common threats. So that's why it's only in the good tier. Well, Nemesis, on the other hand, is a great tier Lumian because it's faster than normal Dragodyne, and it has Pepper Burst to deal with other dark types. So, and it just hits a lot harder too. So it belongs in the great tier, especially when you combine it with Specialty Goggles. Metronet. Normal Metro and Soulburst Metro are both good tier Lumians. Soulburst Metro is nice because it has Rogue Assault to hit bug types like Plasma for super effective damage, which is nice. And normal Metronet is good because of its Applied Frustration ability and Mysterious Cloak ability. Mysterious Cloak makes it immune to barbs, which is nice. And the Applied Frustration is very good in a meta where Tyrex and Lashent are everywhere. So if you're able to get an Applied Frustration boost on the Lashent, you can deal a lot of damage and then OHKO it with a Pyrokinesis. Because most Metronets are actually running Specialty Goggles at the moment. So both normal and Soulburst Metro are both really good. Never Crits is a good Lumian. Surprisingly, not in the average tier. Has a very good offensive typing, very good defensive typing. Can be frustrating with its never critting sometimes, because sometimes it doesn't do enough damage. But it does run Rachel plushing. If you do get a bulk up, it can actually hit pretty hard at +3. And the addition of Parasitize not only destroys Lashent, but it also can make Nevermare heal HP back as well. So, pretty solid in this meta, actually. And that's why it belongs in the good tier, despite its frustrations. Now let's get into the Gargolems. Now, Gargolem attack is banned, so we are going to put that in the banned tier. If it wasn't in the banned tier, it'd be here. Nothing else to really say here. Nothing can really switch into this. Despite being frail, it's just there. Now let's get into the other Gargolem forms. Now, if Gargolem attack was here, this would be in Met. But base will actually be in the average tier, because it actually does have good attacking stats, and its liability does go through restrictive items, which can make this thing hit decently hard, but it's still not the best. It's still not the best offensive Lumian. Like, it's the opportunity cost of not using the other Gargolems, which Gargolem Speed is just better. Gargolem Speed is a great suicide lead, belongs in the great tier. Gargoyle of Defense also belongs in the Great Tier. Both of these Lumians can set up hazards. Both of these Lumians have Driving Force, and both of them can cause mayhem with their great move pool and great defensive typing. So, they belong in the Great Tier. Odiaga is a good tier Lumian. A lot of people might consider this one of the worst roamers in the game. Not me. Hag boosted, Specialty Goggles boosted Psycho Blast can pretty much destroy every single Lumian in existence. If you get this Lumian in the game, it has the bulk to live a hit, and then Oko them with a Specialty Goggles boosted Psycho Blast. So, yeah, this Lumian hits hard. If you're not ready for this, this thing will shred holes in teams. So, I'm putting it in the good tier just because of that. Wobbulis, very good in this meta. It's a great tier Lumian, the best ignorant Lumian in the game. Could even be up there as one of the best barb setters as well, and it also has Bitter Cold to stop range attackers. I'm even debating about putting it in the amazing tier, but I think the great tier is good for it because it doesn't have a healing move to make it heal its HP back. It does have Luster Loot and Vital Jab, but they're not those reliable healing moves for it. Plus, it doesn't usually run that because it wants Deep Freeze to hit Luminami and Lachette. So, yeah. I feel like Wobbulis is a great tier Lumian. We're very close. Avatross is also a great tier Lumian. Has the Aqua Body ability, which synergizes very well in a meta with Crakalola Scorching Skin. So it's a melee attacker that can actually consistently deal with Crakalola Scorching Skin, which is nice. And after a Drudge, it outspeeds everything in the game. Has Gnarly Gash to hit Luminami, and Rogue Assault to hit other ice types. So, Avatross, very dangerous sweeper, definitely belongs in the great tier. We have Celesting and Soulburst Celesting, which both of these Lumians are great tiers. Both Celestings are good. Both of them can set up barbs. Both of them have Flashing Flea Pivot. And they also have Deja Vu, the best Deja Vu Lumian in the game. So, both really good. Both have good abilities. And Miracle Beam on Soulburst Celesting is also very strong as well. So, they belong in the great tier. We have Mimas, which is a good Lumian. Mimas can facade in the skies out of any other Lumian in the game, which could lead to some very interesting mind games. And the Mass Swap ability makes it so Mimas has every Lumian, or every move on its move kit, can become a stab move. So it's very powerful on a Lumian like Mimas, who has really good coverage. Not to mention that it actually has Muck Blast that actually hits Surkame, Luminami, and Lachette for super effective damage, while also having Fade Away to pivot out. Very good Lumian, definitely deserves to be on the good tier. And the final Lumian that we're going to be talking about today, the final one, Gremuline. Good tier Lumian, good defensive typing, very good move pool, has Vital Jab to heal HP back, has Body Crash to hit hard, Poison Barbs and Barbs to set hazards up, and it has Slapdown utility. Also has Rogue Assault and Brawn Boost, so it can be ran both offensively and defensively really well. Very good base stats across the board, nothing else to really say, just very consistent and very reliable. So, Gremuline is in the good tier, and here it is. That is the 2026 PvP tier list on the Joshua Star 77 channel. As you could see, the only one Lumian got into the godly tier. That is Luma freaking Nami. Of course, Geklo's the best. Everyone knows Geklo's the best Lumian. But Luminami, the only Lumian that belongs on the godly tier because of its 90% plus usage rate, it feels like, and its ability to soak every single hit in the entire game. So, Luminami is probably the best Lumian heading into 2026. The worst Lumian in the game, it's not even close. It's Ice-type Guardrone. Ice-type Guardrone is so bad. Thing is, the other Guardrones are at least fine, so if you want to have an actual worst, it would probably be Hydro Fraud, but I'm going to count Ice-type Guardrone. There's legit no reason to use this fraud of a Lumian. So, yeah. That is the Joshua Star 77 tier list. PvP tier list of 2026. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me making this tier list. If there are some moves that y'all don't agree with, please tell me in the comments below, because everyone else's tier list is going to be really different. So please tell me in the comments below if I missed any Lumians, and if there are some Lumian spots that you don't agree with, please tell me in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!